Chapter 28:10. The cultivators around him became excited when they saw this scene. They had been too sullen these days. They were so angry that they gnashed their teeth. The geniuses of the Silver Lightning race, Heavenly Dog race, and Fire Cloud race would come from time to time. They were extremely arrogant. They didn't put a mortal palace in their eyes at all, and even said all kinds of bad things about Lin Xian. Now that Lin Xian had come out of seclusion, they could finally beat up these 10,000 ancient races. Outside a mortal palace, many archaic creatures stood in the void. They were from the Silver Lightning race, Heavenly Dog race, and Fire Cloud race. Their mission was to stay here and wait. As long as Lin Xian appeared, they would report it to the geniuses of their races, and let their peerless geniuses come to kill him. Spread the news to the world. However, it had been more than a month, and the other party hadn't come out at all. However, they had plenty of patience. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, the clouds in the sky churned as if someone was about to come out. Seeing this scene, the archaic creatures all became excited. Could it be that someone was about to appear? Their eyes were like rainbows as they stared ahead. The array formation in front of them churned as figures walked out one after another. The person in the lead was a handsome young man in a red robe. His black hair danced wildly, as if he was an immortal. Beside him followed a dark red dragon. There were many figures behind him. They were all Immortal Palace's cultivators. It's that kid. It's that Lin Xian. He came out. He finally came out. The Silver Lightning race's experts cried out in surprise. They had a grudge with Lin Xian, so they naturally knew what he looked like. Therefore, when he came out, they were the first to discover him. The Heavenly Dog race and Fire Cloud race's archaic creatures also cried out in surprise. Was it that kid? He was really lucky. Hurry up and send a message to our geniuses. The three great archaic creatures quickly sent a message. That Lin Xian actually came out. 5 million miles away, a figure soared into the sky. This person had a human body, a dog head, and a pair of wings on his back. He was extremely terrifying. He was one of the Heavenly Dog race's geniuses. It seems that my luck is really good. He soared into the air. Countless clouds tumbled beneath his feet, forming a large dark cloud that carried him, as he quickly flew into the distance. He was extremely arrogant. This scene was extremely terrifying. As for the martial artists in the surrounding millions of li, they all noticed this. Look, what's that? How terrifying. It was a dog demon. Are you tired of living? What dog demon? That was an expert from the Tiango clan. The Heavenly Dog race was a very powerful race among the 10,000 ancient races. They were said to be able to devour the moon. If he said the wrong thing again, he would lose his life. The Tiango clan? Their prodigies had defeated several princes of the imperial empires. What were they going to do now? It was rumored that they had always been lingering around a mortal palace, wanting to challenge Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian never appeared. Looking at the other party's anxious appearance, could it be that Lin Xian had come out of seclusion? No, they want to challenge Lin Xian. Cries of surprise could be heard. Let's go and take a look. These people couldn't hold it in any longer. They quickly soared into the sky, and also flew forward. In their eyes, Lin Xian was a godlike existence. He was a monument, one of the top young prodigies. However, there was no news of him before, which shocked everyone. The ancient creatures said that Lin Xian was afraid, and didn't dare to come out. However, these human powerhouses didn't believe it, especially those who had experienced the nest of 10,000 dragons. Back then, it was Lin Xian who split the nest of 10,000 dragons open with a single sword strike, and saved everyone. That was something that even the sacred leaders and sect masters couldn't do. How could such a person be afraid? There must be another reason. From the looks of it, the other party was really going to come out. That's right, the one who came out this time was Lin Xian. He walked out of the array formation and looked around. Soon he saw 7 or 8 ancient creatures nearby. However, he didn't care at all. Although these ancient creatures were powerful, in his eyes, they were similar to ants. He knew that this shouldn't be a genius from the 10,000 ancient races. You're that Lin Xian? The ancient creature from the Tiango race walked up and shouted coldly. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and ignored him. Beside him, Hui Dao stood out. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to our hall master? Get lost. As he spoke, his saber flew out. You're courting death. The ancient creature from the Tiango race was furious. He also stretched out his claw, and it was like a mountain that pressed down. The two collided, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Terrifying energy surged. The ancient creature from the Tiango race was forced back. Hui Dao snorted coldly and put away his saber. Let your peerless prodigy come out. How dare you insult our hall master? Today is the day you die. My day of death. What arrogant words. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. In the sky, dark clouds gathered. Immediately after, a terrifying figure descended. It was the young prodigy of the Tiango race. The moment he appeared, he was like an ancient demonic mountain that froze the sky. The aura of the entire world seemed to have solidified. The pressure made it difficult for everyone to breathe. Formless power surged downwards, rushing towards Lin Xian and the others, intending to crush them. Not good. Hui Dao and the others' expressions changed. That aura was too terrifying. They had to admit that the other party was indeed terrifying. Humph. Lin Xian snorted coldly and continued to stand with his hands behind his back. A piercing light burst out from his eyes, forming two sword lights that slashed forward. They met the attack head-on and directly shattered the pressure. You're the prodigy of the Tiango race? Lin Xian looked at the other party and asked coldly. He had to confirm the other party's identity. If he was a piece of trash, he wouldn't be worthy of his attack. That's right, I'm the prodigy of the Tiango race, Xiaoyu. You'd better remember this. Kid, I didn't expect you to dare to come out. I thought you would be a coward for the rest of your life. Xiaoyu looked at Lin Xian and sneered. Why wouldn't I dare to come out? Do you think that you can scare me with just you alone? Lin Xian sneered in disdain. Come on, I'll kill you today and eat your dog meat. Hearing this, the martial artists of Immortal Palace all laughed excitedly. The ninjas of the Tiango race were so angry that they vomited blood. Especially Xiaoyu, whose face was gloomy. You're courting death. A palm came down like a mountain pressing down from the sky. He was furious that the other party dared to provoke him. He swore that he would teach the other party a lesson. The sky broke open and the terrifying palm rolled. A mountain fell from the sky. This scene. It happened to be seen by the human martial artists who rushed over from afar. Those human martial artists cried out in surprise. It was an expert of the Tiango race. It was him. He was Xiaoyu. He had already defeated 3 saints. His strength was terrifying. What? It was actually him. He was from the Tiango race, an extremely terrifying prodigy. Chapter 28:11. These human warriors had also started to use the title of Archean power. Moreover, they now knew what 20,000 Archean power meant. Among the younger generation, they represented the pinnacle of existence. One had to know that an ordinary saint only had 17,000 to 17,000 Archean power. 20,000? It definitely surpassed an ordinary saint. A saint could easily kill an ordinary saint. Looking at the claw descending from the sky, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. Lin Xian stretched out a finger and pointed forward. As he pointed forward, his golden finger shone with an unparalleled light. It carried a terrifying sword qi and shot straight into the sky, courting death. Seeing this, Xiaoyu was enraged. He grabbed at his opponent with one hand. He was already arrogant enough. However, his opponent was even more arrogant than him. He directly stretched out a finger to fight against him. Who was he? He was a prodigy of the heavenly dog race. He was so powerful that no one dared to underestimate him. Therefore, he roared angrily. The power on his palm increased again. With an unparalleled momentum, he crushed down. Since his opponent looked down on him, he would kill him in one blow. Facing the increased power, Lin Xian was not afraid. His finger continued to shine as he pointed forward. However, the power was also stronger than before. A dragon's roar erupted from his finger. It turned into a giant dragon and shot up 90,000 miles. Boom! There was an earth-shattering collision. This time, it directly pierced through the giant palm in the sky. Blood splattered all over the sky as terrifying spatial cracks appeared. Xiaoyu was shocked. He could not believe that his opponent had broken through his palm. Damn it! This kid was so strong. His face was ugly. He stretched out his other palm. This time, his palm was even more terrifying. It was like the palm of an Archean demonic beast. It stretched out from the sky. The human warriors who were watching the battle from afar were shocked. Many people were sent flying by this aura. Some even fell to the ground. It was too terrifying. As expected of the Central Emperor, those Archean demonic beasts roared crazily. Kill him! They must kill him! Looking at this scene, Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. He clenched his left fist and punched out. It was like a blazing sun. Boom! This punch directly blew up the other party's palm once again. The sea of blood in the sky surged, and a miserable cry rang out. Xiao Yu roared furiously in the sky. How despicable! 2 moves. 2 of his palms were smashed apart by the other party. Aside from the pain, what he felt was even more unbearable. Shame, shame. This was his greatest shame, shame. Ever since he made his debut, he had easily killed 3 prodigies and saints, which made him think that there were not many humans who could be his match. But now, he had suffered 2 losses at the hands of the other party. This was unbearable for him. Brat, you've angered me. I will definitely kill you. Xiao Yu's voice was cold. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. It was like a vast ocean that shattered the void. A terrifying light descended from the sky, intending to destroy all traces of the world. Xiao Yu did not hold back in this attack, and its might caused the expressions of many figures of the older generation to change drastically. The faces of the human race experts also changed. They started to worry for Lin Xian. In the distance, the archaic lifeforms roared wildly. This was a killing move. Previously, it was this move that Xiao Yu easily defeated the other 3 sons. Therefore, in their view, Lin Xian similarly could not block this move. But very unfortunately, this time they guessed wrong. Facing this terrifying attack, Lin Xian was fearless. He did not dodge at all, directly reaching out his palm and grabbing over. This time, his palm also became infinitely large, as if it became a world, enveloping all things. In the center of his palm, the sun, moon, and stars revolved, as if it was a real starry sky universe. These were all evolved from the great dragon sword soul, carrying an extremely powerful spiritual energy aura, directly obliterating Xiao Yu's attack. Not only that, this palm even enveloped Xiao Yu. What? It was broken. Was it so easy to break it? Those archaic lifeforms were stunned, especially the Tiango race archaic lifeforms. Their faces were full of horror, not daring to believe it. That was their ultimate killing move, and it was actually broken so easily. Who the hell was this brat? On the human side, everyone cried out wildly. As expected of the Central Emperor, too terrifying. It was not something those saints could compare to at all. Previously, when Xiao Yu defeated the other 3 saints, they also saw the battle. At that time, they reckoned that there were probably not many people who could defeat Xiao Yu. Even if they could, it would be very difficult. But now, the shock that Lin Xian had given them was simply too much. He easily broke the other party's killing move. He even trapped the other party in his palm. Buzz! Lin Xian's 5 fingers closed, and the moon and stars revolved, obliterating everything, wanting to kill Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's pupils constricted, and his face was full of shock. Impossible, damn it, this is impossible. How can the other party be so powerful? Damn it, I don't believe it. Get lost. He roared, and the 2 pairs of white wings on his back spread out, transforming into 2 heavenly blades, slashing in all directions. Those white wings were very strange, and there were white runes on them. At that moment, they were incomparably flickering, and their power was much more terrifying than a heaven-grade treasure. Get lost. With a roar, the white wings slashed the world. But they could not cut open Lin Xian's palm. The pair of wings slashed on the palm, and there were clanging sounds. Countless cracks in the void were cut open, but they still could not stop Lin Xian's palm. This scene made Xiao Yu despair, and it made the archaic creatures even crazier. On the side of the human race, they were also stunned. In the sky, the huge palm slowly closed, and then the sun, moon, and stars were obliterated and revolved, and miserable cries could be heard. Ah, ah, ah. Miserable cries could be heard, and blood rain fell from the sky, flowing down from the gaps of the huge palm, piercing through the void. What? He was injured. Seeing this scene, the human race experts exclaimed, and the archaic creatures were shocked. Especially those from the heavenly dog race. They were screaming crazily. Damn brat, let go of our prodigies. You dared to hurt him, you're dead. These people roared, but it was still useless. In the sky, the blood rain became more and more terrifying. Those drops of blood were directly collected by the dark red divine dragon below. This was the blood of an archaic creature, and it contained a strange energy, so he naturally would not let it go. Xiao Yu also let out a shrill cry. Damn kid, you dared to kill me. His body had been shattered dozens of times, and after reassembling, it would be obliterated by the sun, moon, and stars. Now he was finally afraid, because his soul was also beginning to be attacked. If his soul was obliterated, then he would really be dead. He never thought that the other party would really dare to kill him. He was not an ordinary archaic creature, but one of the peerless geniuses of the heavenly dog race. Moreover, what frightened him was that even with his 20,000 archaic power, he could not fight back in front of the other party. Chapter 28:12. Not good. Hao Moon's life was in danger. The surrounding few heaven-old race creatures also had a change in expression, and hurriedly went up to save him. They transformed into terrifying light and rushed up. In an instant, they arrived beside this large palm. These 3 heaven-old race creatures roared and transformed into their main bodies. 3 heavenly hounds. Each body was 1,000 feet long, blotting out the sky and covering the sun, roaring crazily. One head after another bared fangs and brandished claws, biting towards Lin Xian's palm, wanting to tear him apart and save Hao Moon. These 3 heads were too ferocious. When combined, the power was very terrifying. In an instant, they bit onto the large palm that blotted out the sky. Between heaven and earth, rumbling sounds emitted. The surrounding void was shattering. Bang! Bang! The palm in the sky vibrated, directly shattering the 3 heads. Those 3 heads were torn apart, blood splattering wildly. Following that, 3 corpses fell from the sky. What? Killed? The Silver Lightning race, Fire Cloud race's ancient creatures were shocked, opening their eyes wide in disbelief. 3 Heavenly Hound race creatures were actually killed in an instant. Furthermore, it was not a full-powered attack at all. Just a palm vibration, and they were killed. Damn it! Who in the world was that kid in the sky? What extent did his strength reach? They did not dare to imagine. The human race's powerhouses were also stunned. Looking at this scene, their faces were full of shock. Why do I feel that his strength became stronger again? That's right, he was really too strong. We were still worried previously. Looks like our worries were really unnecessary. Most likely, no one could block more than a few moves from a central emperor. These people had a new understanding of Lin Xian's strength. In the sky, Hao Moon's miserable cries continued to sound. But not long later, it dissipated into thin air. The large palm that blotted out the sky slowly opened. A corpse fell down, falling into pieces. It was precisely Hao Moon's corpse. His soul had long been obliterated. His blood was even collected by the dark red divine dragon. Finally, the dark red divine dragon's dragon claw reached out and brought Hao Moon's corpse away too. Tonight we'll eat dog meat. The current Hao Moon already revealed his true form. It was a very massive heavenly hound. That volume was like a small mountain. However, in front of the dark red dragon, he was like an ant. He was caught by the dragon and put away. Immortal Palace's cultivators cheered crazily. This was too great. They were going to eat dog meat. It was said that the heavenly dog meat was very nutritious. Hall Master, give me a few more spirit herbs to make the heavenly dog soup. It will taste even better. Tonight, I'll drink heavenly dog soup. Lin Xian laughed loudly. The Immortal Palace cultivators behind him became even more excited. The surrounding people were all stunned. Just like that, a genius of the ancient race was killed. It was unbelievable. Originally, they thought that this would be an intense battle, a fierce struggle between 2 giants. However, that was not the case at all. As Lin Xian spoke and laughed, he killed the other party with ease. Geniuses from your 2 races, are you coming or not? If you don't come, I'll go back and eat heavenly dog meat. Su Chen then looked at the Fire Cloud tribe. and the Silver Lightning Tribe. Immediately, the ancient life forms of the two races began to tremble. Their eyes were filled with fear. "Brat, you're too arrogant. Today I will kill you." Thunder rumbled between heaven and earth. Following that, 10,000 bolts of divine lightning descended. A figure carrying the power of wind and thunder quickly charged over. It was the Silver Lightning Tribe's genius. When the human cultivators in the distance saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. This was because only the Silver Lightning Tribe could control such terrifying thunder. When the ancient life forms of the Silver Lightning Tribe saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. They had never felt as complicated as today. This was because in the past, when their geniuses arrived, they would definitely cheer. This was because they knew that those human saints were dead meat. But this time they were worried for their geniuses. The strength that the other party had displayed was too terrifying. It was bottomless. In the sea of lightning, a figure bathed in it. He was the Silver Lightning Tribe's genius, Lei Haotian. But suddenly, heaven and earth trembled. Rolling flames turned into a sea of fire that spread in all directions. A figure descended from the sky, carrying boundless divine flames, distorting the entire void. The Fire Cloud Tribe's genius was also here. Everyone cried out in alarm again. This time, it was the Fire Cloud Tribe's genius, Hualing. She was a woman wearing a red dress. Her figure was hot, and her face was beautiful. Her fiery red hair reached her shoulders, and there was a sharp aura between her brows. Although she was beautiful, no one dared to underestimate her, because she was also a famous heaven's favorite. 5 saints had already been defeated by her. It could even be said that the strength of these two people was even more terrifying than Xiaoyu. The ancient life forms of the two tribes hurriedly transmitted what had happened to their geniuses, to remind them not to act rashly. After Lei Haotian and Hualinger heard this, they also frowned. A trace of shock even appeared in their eyes. Xiaoyu had been killed? How was that possible? They did not dare to believe that the other party was a genius with similar strength as them. He had many trump cards and terrifying bloodline power. How could he have been killed? They could not believe it at all. They even suspected that their subordinates had fallen into an illusion. Therefore, the Silver Lightning Tribe's genius, Lei Haotian, snorted coldly and walked out. "Kid, I don't know what method you used to make my subordinates fall into an illusion, but today you can't escape death. You dare to kill my Silver Lightning Tribe's martial artists in public. You can't escape death. What last words do you have? Leave them all." Lei Haotian stood out. Lightning surged on his body, piercing through all directions. The Silver Lightning Tribe's ancient life forms quickly advised, but Lei Haotian did not believe them at all. In his opinion, these people had all fallen into an illusion. The human race martial artists in the distance sighed. It was over. This Lei Haotian was too confident. He actually did not believe his subordinates. It seemed that this time, the other party was dead for sure too. Yes, although this Lei Haotian was stronger than Xiaoyu, he probably only had over 21,000 points of archaic power. It seemed that he was not a match for Lin Xian. Everyone discussed animatedly, but Lei Haotian's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He was not a match for the other party. What a joke! These humans actually dared to look down on him like this? This was intolerable to him. "Kid, go to hell for me." He directly pulled out a lightning-long blade from the sea of lightning and slashed forward. The lightning that filled the sky swallowed and spat out light, splitting the sky into two. "Reckless and blind. I'll fulfill your wish then." Lin Xian smiled coldly, still calm and collected. Because the disparity in strength between the two parties was seriously too great, he directly reached out a palm and grabbed forward. "Dare to grab my lightning sun sword barehanded? Really courting death?" Lei Haotian snorted coldly. This was not an ordinary lightning-long sword, but it was condensed with his bloodline power. The lightning sword was very terrifying. It was even more terrifying than a heaven-ranked treasure sword. The other party actually dared to resist barehanded. Chapter 28:13. Buzz. In the sky, the two attacks collided. The lightning sword struck the golden palm with a deafening sound. However, to everyone's astonishment, Lin Xian's palm did not break open. Instead, he grabbed the lightning sword. How is that possible? Lei Haotian was shocked when he saw that. The other party was actually able to contend against his Thunder Sun sword. This was simply too unbelievable. Was his opponent's physique that strong? Damn it. This guy actually had a physique comparable to a saint physique. Even members of the primeval races had heard of Leaf Doudonier's physique. However, they did not expect his opponent's physique to be so strong as well. In the next moment his expression changed drastically, and he even screamed. The lightning sword made cracking sounds as it was covered with cracks. With a clang, the lightning sword was broken in half. It was broken. The incomparably terrifying sword of lightning was directly broken into pieces by someone. This scene was too shocking. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open, not daring to believe it at all. Lei Haotian was also stunned. In the sky, after Lin Xian's palm broke the lightning sword, he quickly pounced forward. With a bang he slapped Lei Haotian's body. When Lei Haotian was struck by the palm, he was sent flying rapidly. The bones in his body were shattered and blood splattered everywhere. Even his internal organs were knocked out. He rolled for 70,000 to 80,000 miles before he stopped. His body was torn apart, and only his head was intact. The surrounding humans and Archean beasts were completely flabbergasted by the sight. Their eyelids were twitching, and their hearts were about to jump out. They did not expect to see this scene again. It was the same torture. No. The ancient creatures of the Silver Lightning tribe roared crazily. They had already warned their prodigy, but they did not expect him to ignore them. However, they did not expect their prodigy to be defeated so quickly. His body was torn apart with a single punch. How could this be? How could that kid be so strong? On the other side, Hua Ling from the Fire Cloud tribe also frowned. Her eyes were filled with shock. Her opponent's strength had far exceeded her imagination. Ah, kid, I want you dead. Lei Haotian roared crazily as his body reformed again. His face was pale, but his eyes were like lightning. He was simply too furious. His opponent's palm had actually shattered him into pieces. He couldn't stand it. He swore that he would torture the other party to death. Boom! Mysterious silver symbols appeared one after another on his body. They surged and pulsed, turning into terrifying lightning that surrounded his surroundings. Now that he had activated his bloodline power, he had activated it at full force. As prodigies of the Silver Lightning tribe, they were born with lightning. In particular, he was accompanied by a type of lightning called Silver Spirit Lightning. This kind of lightning contained an extremely strong destructive power. Now that he was using it, the void within a radius of tens of thousands of li collapsed entirely, forming a terrifying black hole that seemed as though it was going to devour everything. Buzz, Lei Haotian stretched out his palm and transformed it into a silver claw. There was a terrifying destructive force on it as he clawed forward. Wherever it passed, the void would shatter and be annihilated. Nothing could stop it. Not good. This power is too terrifying. Was this the power of his bloodline? He was indeed a genius of the Silver Lightning tribe. This destructive power was really despairing. You're too weak. I'm not interested. Looking at this scene, Lin Xian's voice was cold. Everyone in the world was shocked. Too weak. Such a terrifying power. And he said that it was too weak? This was already close to 22,000 units of Archean power. And he said that it was too weak. Oh God, was this Lin Xian crazy? Or did he really have such strength? Everyone was shocked, and those archaic creatures roared crazily. That damned brat. Before they could finish their words, they were stunned. In front of them, Lin Xian pulled out a sword. The long sword was like a dragon as it slashed down. The entire world was cut in half. Everyone trembled, as if they were about to be split apart. Their bodies were uncontrollably prostrated on the ground. After that sword strike, all the terrifying scenes in the sky disappeared. The destructive power disappeared, and the silver palm turned into ashes. In the distance, Lei Haotian's body floated in midair. A line of blood appeared between his eyebrows and grew bigger and bigger, sliding down his cheeks and neck. Bang! His body was split in half. Even his soul power was destroyed in an instant. When the sword struck, he was destroyed. It was just one move. After that move, Lin Xian put away his long sword and stood with his hands behind his back. The prodigy of the Silver Lightning tribe was no longer breathing. Haha, another good thing. The dark red dragon laughed loudly. With a wave of its dragon claw, it put away the corpse and blood. This was already the corpse of the second archaic prodigy. If he could get a few more, he could set up a bloodthirsty true spirit array to cultivate. Lei Haotian, the prodigy of the Silver Lightning tribe, was dead. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. Especially those from the Silver Point race, they screamed crazily. They could not accept the fact at all. On the other side, the people of the Firecloud tribe were also terrified. Hualing Air's face was pale without a trace of blood. She turned around and left without saying a word. Previously, when her subordinates told her that the other party was very powerful and killed the prodigy of the Tiango tribe in 3 moves, she did not believe it. But now, she saw Lei Haotian being killed with a single sword strike. She believed it. The other party was really powerful, far surpassing her. Perhaps only the prodigies of the ancient royal families could fight against him. Such a person was not someone she could provoke. Hualing Air's figure turned into a fiery red light and fled into the distance. Seeing this scene, the people of the 10,000 archaic races were stunned. The other party actually fled. The people of the human race were also shocked. The prodigy of the ancient primordial race actually admitted defeat. This was too inconceivable. You want to escape? Can you escape? Lin Xian watched as the other party fled, but he did not chase after her. He stretched out his hands, and the sword qi on his body crackled, forming a large bow. He drew the bow and shot an arrow. Buzz! Terrifying sword qi surged between heaven and earth. This arrow pierced through the void and flew out. Boom! Hundreds of thousands of miles away, Hualing Air's body stiffened. Her heart had been pierced by the arrow. She was nailed to death in midair by this force. Ah! She screamed crazily. Her fiery red hair fluttered in the air, and her beautiful face was filled with endless fear. You can't kill me. I'm a prodigy of the Firecloud tribe. You've already offended 2 ancient races. You can't offend the Firecloud tribe anymore. Otherwise, there will be no path for you in the entire world. So what if I offend the Firecloud tribe? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, and his voice was cold. His eyes erupted with a cold light. In front of him, the arrow that pierced through Hualing Air suddenly exploded. Endless sword qi erupted and enveloped the other party. Boom! Boom! Chapter 28:14. When everything disappeared, everyone trembled. The dark red divine dragon also sighed. Sigh, nothing was left behind. That's right, Hualing Air had been completely killed. Not a single drop of blood was left behind. The sword qi of the great dragon sword soul was truly terrifying. They were dead. 3 geniuses of the 10,000 ancient races, whose names shook the world and suppressed the human holy sun until he could not raise his head. But now in front of Lin Xian, they were easily killed. While chatting, a powerful enemy was reduced to ashes. This was the true portrayal of Lin Xian. Previously, no one had expected Lin Xian to be so powerful. Especially the remaining ancient creatures. Their faces were filled with despair. Previously, they had been clamoring for more than a month, but the other party did not come out. They thought that the other party was afraid and was not their match at all. However, they did not know that the other party was too powerful. It was fine if he did not make a move, but once he made a move, it was a fatal blow. They could not bear the consequences of such a move. Damn brat! The Silver Lightning race will definitely not let you off. Yes, the Fire Cloud race will definitely tear you into pieces. How dare you kill one of our people? The Tiango race will let you know what regret is. These ancient creatures roared crazily. They had really gone crazy. They swore that they would report to their family's patriarchs and completely destroy the other party. Lin Xian turned his head and looked at these ancient creatures with an incomparably cold gaze. Those ancient creatures were enveloped by his gaze. Their bodies trembled, and they directly knelt on the ground. There was nothing they could do. This aura was too powerful. Lin Xian was like a peerless god of war, high and mighty, while they were ants in the mortal world. How could they withstand such a gaze? Therefore they all knelt on the ground with a plop. Damn it, impossible. Get up. More than a dozen ancient creatures roared crazily. They were the high and mighty 10,000 ancient races with noble statuses. Before this, the human race was their slave. But now they were kneeling in front of the other party. Moreover, their bodies were kneeling uncontrollably. They could not even stand up. The ancient creatures trembled. This situation would only happen when they faced their family's patriarchs. However, the other party, a young man, actually did it. It seems that you're determined to kill me. If that's the case, why should I show mercy to you? As he spoke, Lin Xian's gaze erupted, transforming into tens of thousands of sword lights that directly pierced through these archaic creatures. 10,000 arrows piercing the heart. These archaic creatures fell to the ground, no longer breathing. The entire world was silent. The human warriors in the distance were completely stunned. Powerful, it was too powerful. Good, well done. As expected of Lin Xian from Central Emperor. Almighty Lin Xian was indeed powerful. These people clenched their fists in excitement and roared madly. It couldn't be helped. These days, they had been suppressed by the 10,000 ancient races, to the point that they couldn't breathe. These 10,000 ancient races were like gods as they walked the earth. Wherever they passed, the human race's geniuses would be defeated. Only a small number of people were able to resist it. But right now, Lin Xian had taken down 3 archaic paragons with ease in a domineering manner. This gave them a sense of hope. Lin Xian might be able to save the human race. At the very least, he could save their face. Lin Xian looked into the distance and said to the human warriors who were watching the battle, "Spread the news. Tell the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses to wash their necks and wait for me. I will trample on them one by one. I will let them know the consequences of challenging the human race." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, reverberating between heaven and earth. The human warriors in the distance were extremely excited. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and their faces were flushed red. He was going to sweep through the world. That's right. Previously, the 10,000 ancient races swept through the human race. Now Lin Xian was going to use the same method to sweep through the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses? Let's go and spread the news. This was truly a joyous matter. They had to let the world know how powerful the human race's geniuses were. These people flew in all directions and began to spread the news crazily. Soon the news spread like a hurricane. It spread throughout the entire Middle State to the eastern wilderness, western desert, northern plains, and Nanling. In an instant, the world was shocked and the entire race was in an uproar. What? You're saying that Lin Xian came out of seclusion? And he easily killed 3 archaic geniuses. Everyone was stunned. They had truly experienced how powerful the archaic geniuses were during this period of time. However, Lin Xian actually came out of seclusion so domineeringly. This action shocked and excited these people. At first, they didn't believe it. However, as more and more news and details were revealed, they had no choice but to believe that Lin Xian was really that terrifying. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that Lin Xian said that he was going to sweep through the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses. This news excited the entire human race. As for the 10,000 ancient races, they were so angry that they went crazy. A puny human dared to say such words to them? He really didn't know time. The 10,000 ancient races were high and mighty existences. How could a lowly human provoke them? Therefore, the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses were all filled with killing intent, preparing to kill Lin Xian. Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Morong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu stood arm in arm in front of the immortal peach tree. When they heard the news, their faces were filled with joy. Big brother Lin Xian was too awesome. Big brother Xian finally came out of seclusion. The two of them smiled. Previously, when Lin Xian had been in seclusion and hadn't come out, they were worried that something had happened. But now it seemed that he was just in seclusion. Yi family. Yi Wudao stood at the peak of a mountain with his black hair fluttering in the wind. When he heard the news, his eyes exploded with a piercing cold light. Elder, I also want to sweep through the world. Is it finally about to begin? When the Yi family's elders heard the news, they also took a deep breath. Their expressions were solemn as they nodded solemnly. Go ahead and attack. We won't care about the younger generation. Leave the older generation's matters to us. Yi Wudao was their hope, their family's future. However, they knew that this kind of future shouldn't be a flower raised in a greenhouse. He had to go through bloody battles to become a true greater success Saint Physique. Previously, Yi Wudao had planned to challenge the 10,000 ancient races geniuses. However, before he could make a move, Lin Xian announced it in advance. This ignited the fire in his heart. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to say that he would sweep through the world. For a time, the world was in an uproar again. Was Yi Wudao going to make a move too? A Saint Physique was indeed powerful. Central Sovereign and Eastern Sage were going to make a move. Who knew what the other titled kings would do? Everyone was looking forward to it. Western Desert, 10,000 Buddha Temple. Dustless sat there, his eyes clear and without any fluctuations. Chapter 28:15. When this news came out, it shocked the world once again. Although the other party did not say that he would challenge all the 10,000 Archean tribes, it was clear that Wuxia was going to come out and travel the world. It would be another earth-shattering battle. South Mountain Yin family. The Yin family was also an overlord in South Mountain. At that moment, in a fairyland in the Yin family, a man stood there with his hands behind his back. He was handsome like a banished immortal, and there was a terrifying divine light on his body. He was Yin Nantian, the one known as the South Emperor. Yin Nantian was also one of the titled prodigies. He was extremely powerful, and it was rumored that he had obtained the inheritance of a great emperor. His foundation was terrifying, and his strength was unfathomable. At that moment, Yin Nantian was not standing there alone. There were two figures opposite him. One of them was a mysterious figure surrounded by black flames. He was like the god of hell, and he emitted a terrifying aura. Even the surrounding space became distorted. Behind that person was a pair of black flame wings with mysterious black runes on them. Apart from that, he also had a black tail that was like a black whip. It emitted a sharp aura. It seemed that he was not alone. The figure standing next to him was even stranger. He had 3 heads. However, those 3 heads were not human heads. The one on the left was a crocodile head. The one in the middle was a lion head. And the one on the right was an elephant head. It was extremely strange to have 3 heads on a person's body. Moreover, that person's body was covered in scales. His limbs were thick, and his claws were like the claws of a beast. They had an extremely sharp aura. With a wave of his hand, he could easily cut through the void. At that moment, the 3-headed monster snorted. Lin Xian was really arrogant. He wanted to conquer the world. He was courting death. Not only Lin Xian, but the Eastern Wilderness Sacred Being and Western Deserts Wuxia were also courting death. The 10,000 Archean tribes were definitely beyond their imagination. The 10,000 Archean tribes. Those 2 people were also members of the 10,000 Archean tribes. However, they were standing together with Yin Nantian. No one knew what the relationship between the 3 of them was. Hearing that, Yin Nantian's eyes flickered. I've seen the Eastern Wilderness Sacred Being before. He's very powerful. After all, he is a clan of the ancients, a descendant of the monarch clan. He is equivalent to the royal clan of the 10,000 Archean clans. Therefore, you must not be careless. As for that Central Emperor Lin Xian, although he had never seen him before, he had heard that he practiced the 9 Yang divine body. After he cultivated it, he wouldn't be any weaker than a great success holy physique. So he would probably be a difficult opponent to deal with. But don't worry, I'm not afraid of these 2. At this point his eyes were filled with pride. There were very few people in heaven and earth who didn't fear Lin Xian and Leaf Dao Denier. And Yin Nantian was one of them. At the front, the black flaming figure and the 3-headed monster sneered. Don't worry. So what if they're from the remote antiquity? Apart from having extreme weapons, they can't compare to the ancient theocrats. There was no need to even mention Leaf Dao Denier. Although he was a descendant of an emperor clan, the great emperor blood flowing in his body was simply too thin. You must know that the primeval theocrats have princes and princesses. That was the direct descendant of a great emperor. How terrifying would such a bloodline be? It was definitely not something that Leaf Dao Denier could compare to, let alone Lin Xian. At this point, their eyes were filled with passion and worship. The child of a great emperor. What a terrifying bloodline inheritance. It would probably surpass all the primeval aristocratic families. Yin Nanshan's expression also fluctuated. Would a great emperor really appear? To be honest, he was also too shocked. One had to know that he was someone who had received the inheritance of a great emperor. He knew how terrifying a great emperor was the best. How heaven-defying would that bloodline be if it was directly passed down? Perhaps he would be born with this earth-shattering power. It was absolutely true that a dragon crown prince was about to appear in the nest of 10,000 dragons. Just wait, it won't be long before he appears. Moreover, the 10,000 ancient races have already discussed it. When the time comes, we will join forces to control the world together. Don't worry. As long as your Yin family helps the 10,000 ancient races, when the time comes, your Yin family will be the primeval royal family. As for the others, if they dare to resist the 10,000 ancient races, they will be completely reduced to slaves. At this point, a sharp light erupted from their eyes. Don't worry, my Yin family will naturally be on good terms with you, Yin Nantian said in a deep voice. If someone was here and heard this news, they would definitely be extremely shocked. The Yin family was actually going to join forces with the 10,000 ancient races. What was even more shocking was that the 10,000 ancient races were actually secretly plotting to regain control of the world. It seemed that the human race was really going to fall into a disaster. On the other side, the Silver Lightning race, the Heavenly Dog race, and the Fire Cloud race had an extremely solemn atmosphere. Their prodigy had been killed in front of everyone right outside the city. In fact, none of the ancient creatures had returned. This made them extremely angry. Damn it, kill him, we must kill him. Elder, go kill him. One figure after another stood out. Attack. If you encounter that brat, don't show any mercy. Directly kill him. Preserve his soul and body and bring him back. Let him suffer for 10,000 years. I want him to live a life worse than death. Among the three great races, cold voices sounded one after another. The prodigies of the three great races appeared again, and Lin Xian had already left the immortal palace. After Lin Xian said that he would dominate the world was in an uproar, and the atmosphere became more and more intense. Lin Xian felt that it was about time to make a move, so he and the dark red divine dragon left the immortal palace on the Black Earth. Their first destination was the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty, because the prodigy of the dark feather race, Yu Yi, was there. This was not the first time Lin Xian had been to the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty. Previously, when he helped the 8th prince obtain the position of crown prince, he had been here before. At that time, he had an intense conflict with the first prince and the empress. He was even hunted down and left the Tai dynasty in the end. Now that he was in the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty again, it was a completely different scene. The Black Earth moved quickly. Lin Xian was inside, using the blood of the ancient prodigies to temper his body. At the same time, he silently absorbed divine crystals and swallowed pills to improve himself. Brat, the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty is outside. The Black Earth floated over and quickly reminded him. Lin Xian opened his eyes, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. He walked out of the blood-colored array and put on a bright red robe. His soul probed the outside world. Whoosh! His figure flashed, and he and the dark red divine dragon left the Black Earth. The little white monkey was also dozing off on his shoulder. The group descended. This time, Lin Xian did not go through the south gate, nor did he pay any spiritual stones. Instead, he descended directly from the sky. He wanted to forcefully descend into the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty. Chapter 28:16. There were two reasons why Lin Xian did this. Firstly, he wanted to tell the Tai dynasty that he, Lin Xian, had returned. Moreover, he had returned in an extremely domineering manner, because he knew that there was still an empress in the imperial capital, and she still had a terrifying force behind her. Lin Xian had to intimidate the other party with his powerful stance. Secondly, the purpose of his trip was to dominate the world and trample the immemorial celestial feet under his feet. Those immemorial celestial sects could descend from the sky and enter the imperial capital, so why couldn't he? Those immemorial prodigies were arrogant, so he was going to be even more arrogant than all of them. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Xian was like a peerless god of war, as he quickly descended. Boom! 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 Lin Xian stomped his foot, and a terrifying golden wave surged downward. Immediately, the entire imperial capital's array formation was activated. Endless light shone, and a terrifying sword chi pierced through the clouds. Everyone in the Tai dynasty was shocked. At this moment they looked up at the sky. Someone was shaking the peerless array formation. There was a figure above. Could it be that another immemorial prodigy had entered? Hurry up and report. A shout sounded. The people of the Tai dynasty were shocked. In the imperial palace, dragon guards appeared one after another. The imperial elders also came out. Their gazes were like lightning, piercing through the void and looking forward. In the next moment they were extremely shocked. Damn it, it wasn't an immemorial creature, but a human. Who dared to be so bold as to challenge the Tai dynasty? The expressions of the Dragon Guard's generals and elders all sank. It was one thing for the 10,000 ancient races to descend. After all, they were extremely terrifying. But who among the humans dared to be so rude? Activate the array formation, and directly kill the other party. An elder of the imperial family said coldly. The cultivators in the imperial capital were even more shocked. Just who was it that was so reckless? Did they want to imitate the 10,000 ancient races? Did they not know how powerful the 10,000 ancient races were? It was over. They would definitely be killed by the array formation. It was probably someone who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Everyone shook their heads and sneered. At this moment, a voice came from the imposing figure in the sky. I am Immortal Palace's Lord, Central Emperor Lin Xian. You dare use formations against me? The voice was filled with authority and a terrifying aura, causing the space within the imperial city to rapidly shatter. Terrifying cracks appeared one after another. What? Lin Xian? It was Lin Xian from Central Emperor. Countless warriors in the imperial city were shocked. Lin Xian actually came here. One had to know that Lin Xian's reputation had swept across the continent during this period of time. There was nothing he could do about it. He had killed 3 geniuses in a domineering manner. Such a battle record was simply too shocking. Especially the other party's posture. The other party was the first among the young prodigies of the human race to declare that he was going to dominate the world. The generals and elders of the imperial family were also taken aback. The opponent was actually a central emperor. They did not expect that Lin Xian would actually come here. Furthermore, just like the other prided geniuses, they had to descend from the sky. Elder, what should we do? The generals asked. The elder's expression was gloomy and uncertain. He said, don't activate the array first. Soon he sent a voice transmission to the imperial city. Sure enough, a message came from the depths of the imperial palace. After the elders heard it, they were extremely shocked. In the next moment, they opened the array and let the other party in. Why? Let the other party in? The generals' faces were full of shock. They knew that other than the prided geniuses who dared to enter, no other human powerhouse would receive such treatment. But now they were actually going to open the array to a young man. It was really unprecedented. They knew that this was not the decision of the elder, but an order issued by a terrifying existence in the depths of the imperial palace. Therefore, they had to quickly open the array. The generals quickly controlled the array disk. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky and the array opened up a space. Buzz! 2 figures descended forcefully. It was Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon. Lin Xian. It was Lin Xian. It was indeed him. Countless warriors in the imperial city looked up at the sky. Lin Xian descended from the sky like a peerless god of war. Beside him, the dark red divine dragon was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The little white monkey on its shoulder was yawning in boredom. I wonder why Hall Master Lin has come to the Tai dynasty? The elder of the Tai dynasty cupped his fists and asked. Lin Xian nodded. He had heard that the Serene Feather Race's prodigy was here, and had asked him to come out. What? He wanted to challenge the Serene Feather Race's prodigy? Hearing this, the imperial elder's eyelids twitched. The surrounding crowd was also in an uproar. It seemed that the other party was not just talking about conquering the world. Was he going to make a move? Yes, everyone seemed to be on steroids. They did not expect to see a shocking battle today. One had to know that previously, the prided geniuses had roamed the world and specifically challenged the saints and prodigies of the sacred grounds. As for the saints and prodigies of the sacred grounds, they either accepted the challenge or went into seclusion. Very few people came out to challenge the prided geniuses. Lin Xian was the first. How could they not be excited to see such a scene? The elders of the Tai dynasty also had their eyelids twitching. It seemed that the other party was really going to conquer the world. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "The serene feather race's prodigy was currently a guest in the imperial palace. Hall Master Lin, why don't you follow me into the imperial palace?" The old man made an inviting gesture. Lin Xian shook his head. There was no need. No one else could see the battle in the imperial palace. There should be a battle arena in the imperial palace, right? Let's fight there. Let all the human warriors in the world see how I trample these prided geniuses under my feet. How dare you bully the human race? Do you think there's no one left in the human race? At this point, a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes, and a terrifying aura rose from his body. The elders were shocked. The warriors in the imperial palace were all excited and clenched their fists. To clear the name of the human race. How exciting was that? Yes, they were in urgent need of a prodigy to make a name for themselves and intimidate the 10,000 ancient races. Yes, fight. They must defeat the other party. What 10,000 ancient races? How dare they put on such airs? This is the territory of the human race. Angry roars sounded one after another. They were too aggrieved. The 10,000 ancient races had special treatment everywhere, which made them very unhappy. How were they inferior to the other party? Today, they wanted to see with their own eyes how Lin Xian would kill the other party. As more and more people responded, their voices turned into tens of thousands of thunderbolts that shook the clouds. The entire imperial capital was trembling. Even the people in the imperial city were shocked by this scene. What was happening? Were the people outside going to be shocked? In the imperial palace, the elders of the imperial family were also shocked. They all stretched out their souls. Chapter 28:17. Oh no, Lin Xian is here. Moreover, why are the martial artists of the royal capital so agitated? Lin Xian wants to challenge a prodigy of a race. Hurry up and calm those people down. Orders were passed down, and many elders hurried out to calm them down. One had to know that most people hated the 10,000 Archean races. There were a few Archean creatures in the royal palace as guests. What if these people were angered and attacked the royal palace? Although they couldn't break through, they would become the laughing stock of the world if word of a fight got out. Get that Yi to come out and fight with God Lin Xian. What's with the pretense? Come out of the royal palace if you have the ability. Lin Xian had cleared the name of the human race and won a large number of followers. At this moment, these supporters were all roaring. Their voices turned into thunder and rolled into the royal palace. The people in the royal palace instantly understood what was going on. Lin Xian wanted to fight with the prodigy of the serene feather race outside the royal palace, for all the humans to see. The experts in the royal palace looked at each other. Among them, an elder sighed and quickly passed the news to the prodigy of the serene feather race. Soon, the martial artists of the royal family moved quickly and arrived at the royal palace. The royal palace was very quiet, and the environment was very good. The underground dragon vein surged, and there were a few figures sitting there drinking and chatting. Around them stood 7 or 8 maidservants. Their bodies were trembling, and their faces were pale. Beside them, 5 or 6 maidservants had collapsed on the ground, their blood staining the ground red. The hearts of those maidservants had been dug out. Some of them had even been torn in half. These dead maidservants hadn't done anything wrong. They had only been killed by the Archean creatures for fun. The martial artist of the royal family came to the hall and frowned when he saw this scene. However, when he thought of the other party's identity, he still sighed. He walked over and told the Archean creatures what had happened outside. When the Archean creatures heard this, they stopped what they were doing and emitted a cold and terrifying aura. Are you saying that someone dares to challenge me? In the middle sat a youth. He had a pair of black wings on his back. The black feathers on them were like black gold and flickered with a cold light. He had a handsome face and 2 horns on his head. His eyes were incomparably dark, like the starry night sky. He was the prodigy of the dark feather race Yi. Which saint was so reckless? One of the ancient lifeforms snorted coldly. It was Immortal Palace's clan, Central Emperor Lin Xian. What? Lin Xian? Are you talking about that Lin Xian, who killed 3 primordial geniuses? Hearing this, the faces of the archaic creatures sank. They naturally knew what had happened before. The 3 sky prides of the Silver Electric tribe, the Heavenly Dog tribe, and the Fire Cloud tribe were killed on the spot. It was Lin Xian. Not only that, the other party soon spread the word that he wanted to dominate the world, trampling all the geniuses of the supreme ancient immortal realms beneath his feet. This was simply intolerable to them. When these paragons found out about this, they could only grit their teeth in anger. To think that the other party would take the initiative to come knocking on their doors before they could even make a move. Especially after Yu Yi heard this. His face was extremely gloomy. What did the other party mean by looking for him first? You think he's easier to deal with? What a joke. He stood up, exuding an incomparably cold killing intent. It was abnormally terrifying. His strength was above Lei Haotian and the other 2 from the Silver Electric tribe. Moreover, in his opinion, there was a reason why Lei Haotian and the other 2 were killed so quickly. The 3 of them must have been careless, and the other party attacked with all his might. This resulted in this situation. He would not make such a mistake. He would attack with all his might from the start. I'd like to see what ability this Lin Xian has to be so arrogant in front of me. Yu Yi stood up, and the cold aura on his body destroyed all the buildings in the main hall. The archaic creatures beside him reached out and grabbed 2 of the maids. They opened their mouths and bit off their heads. The maidservants trembled and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. The marshalless from the royal family was shocked by this scene. These archaic creatures were simply too cruel. They did not treat humans as human beings at all. That was right. In the eyes of these archaic creatures, humans were ants and slaves that they could kill at will. And they were high and mighty gods, masters. Now that an ant dared to provoke them, they naturally had to deal with the other party. The group of people strode outside. Soon, they arrived outside the imperial palace. Which one of you is Lin Xian? Get over here and accept your death. The archaic creatures were very arrogant. Yi stood in the air with his hands behind his back. His black wings spread open, exuding a biting cold aura. The dark feather race had come out. When the other human cultivators in the imperial palace saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. Their faces were pale. The aura exuding from the other party was simply too powerful. In addition to the terrifying power, there was also a terrifying bloodline pressure. They knew that this was the bloodline power of the 10,000 ancient races. It was much stronger than ordinary people like them. It was so oppressive that they could not breathe. These 10,000 ancient races were born to be favored. The power of the bloodline itself contained so much power that it was far beyond the power of the human race. Many human cultivators shook their heads and sighed. They were simply too envious of this bloodline power. Among the human race, there were very few people who possessed bloodline power. And these 10,000 ancient races basically all had bloodline power. The only difference was the strength of their bloodline. This difference in talent made these human cultivators feel despair and helpless. Oh, they came out. The Crimson Divine Dragon narrowed his eyes and let out a loud roar when he saw this scene. The dragon's aura was vast and mighty, sweeping through the heavens and earth. Then it neutralized the bloodline pressure of the dark feather race. The human cultivators breathed a sigh of relief. They were extremely shocked as they looked at the dark red dragon. Dragon's aura. It was really a dragon. The rumors were true. Lin Xian had a dragon by his side, and this dragon was on their side. They were wild with joy. The dark feather race's faces darkened. Even the archaic creatures began to tremble. They could not compare to the other party's bloodline pressure. One of them could not even stand steadily, and almost fell from the sky. This scene made many people laugh. The archaic creatures of the dark feather race were furious. Damn it! They originally wanted to intimidate the human race and flaunt their strength. But they did not expect that they would be slapped in the face and become a joke. Damn it, who was it? They stared at the dark red dragon. In the next moment, their hearts trembled. They did not dare to be arrogant. Their gazes moved away from the dark red dragon and landed on Lin Xian. Yu Yi spoke. You are that Lin Xian? You dare to challenge me? Challenge you? You think too much. I'm just teaching you how to step on you, Lin Xian said indifferently. Chapter 28:18. You're courting death. Yu Yi was enraged. The other party's attitude infuriated him. One had to know that he usually used this attitude to deal with other human prodigies. But now, a human martial artist dared to treat him like this? This was intolerable. He was a high and mighty existence, and the other party was just an ant. Brat, come and die, he roared angrily, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. The surrounding heaven and earth instantly darkened. The originally bright day with the sun in the sky turned into night. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. A terrifying aura engulfed everyone. It made these martial artists tremble. Ah! They roared angrily. These human martial artists activated their battle armors, and their bodies bloomed with light. However, their radiance dimmed in an instant. This darkness suppressed everything. Not good. It's the other party's domain. This was the dark starry sky domain, the other party's bloodline power. The human martial artists were terrified. This domain was too terrifying. It could suppress all light. They couldn't see anything clearly. They even felt that their soul power was being suppressed. Damn it, not good. They were probably doomed in this dark starry sky domain, because the other party wasn't affected, and they couldn't see anything at all. How could they fight? Everyone was terrified. They started to worry for Lin Xian. You want to suppress me with a mere darkness? Lin Xian snorted coldly. He activated his 9-yang divine body, releasing billions of rays of light. With a hong sound, terrifying radiance rushed into the heavens, moving in all directions. His body turned into a blazing sun. It illuminated all directions. In an instant, the originally dark space became bright again. It was even dozens of times brighter than before. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. The dark starry sky domain was broken. It was unbelievable. The ancient creatures of the dark feather race were also shocked. Yu Yi's pupils constricted. What was going on? The other party could still release light and light up the entire world? This way, the effect of his king's domain would be greatly reduced. What other abilities do you have? Use them all. Otherwise, you won't have a chance, Lin Xian said indifferently. Brat, don't be arrogant. Don't think that you can show off in front of me just because you can light up the sky. To be honest, you're still far from it. Yu Yi snorted. So what if the other party illuminated the light? His strength was not limited to this. As expected, the whole place began to tremble once again. The black light on Yu Yi's body intensified. He was like a black hole that swallowed everything. Whoosh! He moved. Like a black demon king, he charged forward at high speed. A palm stretched out as if it had reached out from hell. It carried an incomparably terrifying energy as it grabbed forward. They wanted to capture Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Light bloomed from his body, and the blood in his body roiled. He was like a peerless sun, emitting millions of rays of light. Boom! Boom! A terrifying radiance soared into the sky, blocking the large black palm. Not only that, but the light seemed to carry an incomparably monstrous flame that wanted to burn the black palm. As expected of the Central Emperor, it was indeed terrifying. Even without moving, the light emanating from his body was more than enough to fend off the other party's attack. That's right, Lin Xian is really too strong. The prodigies of the human race are indeed terrifying. The human race cultivators exclaimed in shock. They were too excited because the strength that Lin Xian had displayed made them extremely excited. On the other side, the archaic creatures from the serene feather race had gloomy expressions as they gritted their teeth. Impossible. Damn it. This brat must have used all his strength to be able to fight against our prodigies. They could not believe what they were seeing. Yu Ye's expression was even colder. His eyes shone with a piercing light. Kill! With a furious roar, the large black palm exploded once again. Black runes appeared on it as it slammed down, directly piercing through the countless rays of light. It completely enveloped Lin Xian. Go to hell, brat! At this moment, Yu Yi was truly enraged. Boom! 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 The large black palm covered the sky and covered everything. It directly grabbed Lin Xian. There was only darkness in front of them. No one could see through it. Even their soul power could not see what was going on inside. Yu Yi smiled when he saw this. The archaic creatures from the serene feather race raised their heads and laughed. Ha 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 ha! What prodigy of the human race! In front of the 10,000 ancient races he is nothing. That's right. I thought that he was some powerful figure who could fight against our prodigies. I didn't expect that he was just a figurehead. He is not a match for our prodigies at all. These archaic creatures were very arrogant. On the other hand, the human cultivators were shocked. Not good, Lin Xian has been enveloped. He won't be in danger, right? I don't know. This large palm is very terrifying and can destroy everything. I'm afraid that Lin Xian is in danger. Not necessarily. The 9-yang divine body is stronger than we imagined. He should be fine. These people discussed animatedly. However, they were incomparably nervous because they could not see the situation inside. No one can fight against me, not to mention you humans. Yu Yi stood in the void. The large black palm let out a rumbling sound. Boundless black chi spread out as if to refine Lin Xian. This scene shocked everyone even more. However, not long after, an explosion sounded in the sky, and the entire space trembled violently. Even the large black hand trembled. This was not Yu Yi activating the array formation, but the person inside seemed to be about to rush out. Yu Ye's expression changed when he saw this. Just as he was about to activate his power, a sword light lit up in the next moment. It swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands, as if it had become an eternal light. It shone between heaven and earth. The light was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. The large black palm was also cut in half. From inside, a figure walked out. This person was Lin Xian. His entire body bloomed with light as divine flames danced. Sword chi surrounded him, making him look like a peerless war god. Lin Xian rushed out from inside. This is your strength. You really disappoint me. Lin Xian's voice was cold. His blood chi surged and shook the void. He swung his sword and shattered heaven and earth. There was a loud boom. The terrifying large black hand was torn apart, turning into countless spirit chi fragments that scattered across heaven and earth. What? It was broken. This was impossible. The ancient creatures were stunned. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Yu Yi was also stunned. The human martial practitioners were also dumbfounded. However, after that, they erupted into incomparable cheers. Great Lin Xian rushed out. I told you. How could Central Emperor Lin Xian be defeated so easily? Chapter 28:19. The sword chi on Lin Xian's body became more and more intense. He swung his sword and slashed forward. Damn brat, get lost. Yu Yi was also enraged. The black wings on his back flapped and he charged forward. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. Terrifying energy exploded, sweeping across the land. Luckily, this was the Imperial City. There was a peerless array that covered the entire city. Otherwise, this attack would definitely destroy the entire Imperial City. Boom boom boom. The energy in the sky shot up into the clouds, stirring up the wind and clouds. Everyone was mesmerized by the scene. Suddenly, Lin Xian stabbed out with his sword, piercing through Yu Ye's body and nailing him in midair. This sword was too stunning. Yu Yi could not dodge it at all. His body was pierced and blood rained down. Ah! He let out a pitiful cry. Light bloomed on his body, and energy surged as he tried to break free. Boom boom boom. The surrounding space shattered. A pair of black wings kept spinning, forming 2 black hurricanes. They charged forward, trying to destroy the ancient sword. However, he could not do it. The sword light in front of him was too bright, and it destroyed all his attacks. Not only that, he could feel the violent sword chi in his body exploding, trying to tear his body apart. Damn it! At this critical moment, he was very decisive. He self-destructed, and his body exploded into a bloody mist. He then reassembled in the distance. "Brat, I'm going to kill you," he roared, and with a wave of his hands, a black saber appeared and slashed forward. The other party had forced him to self-destruct to escape danger. He would definitely take revenge. In the distance, the human warriors were shocked. They couldn't believe that the powerful Yu Yi was at a disadvantage in an instant. Especially the archaic creatures. They were even more shocked. That's not right. Our prodigy must have been careless. Next, he would definitely not lose again. As expected, Yu Yi exploded with unparalleled power. The two sabers restrained the ancient sword. He even sent the ancient dragon abyss sword flying. This scene caused the archaic creatures to celebrate. Yu Yi even charged in front of Lin Xian. The long blade in his hand was about to chop off Lin Xian's head. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The ancient dragon abyss sword shone brightly in the sky, tearing apart the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At the same time, Lin Xian's pair of huge hands sent the pair of black sabers flying. Whoosh! He directly grabbed the pair of black wings and pulled with force. Poochie! Yu Yi was torn in half. Miserable cries rang out, as if countless ghosts were howling, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. No! Those ancient life forms screamed like they had gone mad. Their heavenly geniuses had been torn apart again. What was going on? Yu Yi roared like a madman. He wanted to heal his body, but Lin Xian refused to let go. Lin Xian's strength was so great that Yu Yi was unable to escape. Buzz buzz buzz. The blood that filled the sky surged, and turned into swords of blood that shot towards Lin Xian. When they hit Lin Xian's body, they made clanging sounds. Lin Xian didn't have to dodge at all with his 9 young divine body. Instead, he sent all the swords flying. I've said it before. You don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me. Killing you is just a matter of time. Lin Xian's voice shook the 9 heavens. At this moment, he was like a peerless god of war, extremely powerful. His arms shook, shattering the void. He grabbed the pair of black wings, preventing the 2 halves of Yu Yi's body from healing. Ah! Yu Yi screamed like a madman. His soul temporarily left his body, wanting to fly into the sky. At this moment, the ancient dragon abyss sword above his head exploded. It carried a terrifying dragon-shaped sword aura, and slashed down from the sky. One slash destroyed Yu Yi's soul. Poof! Yu Yi's soul didn't even have time to scream before it was destroyed. After the soul was destroyed, the 2 halves of his body stopped struggling and fell into the void. The terrifying sea of blood surged, making a roaring sound that shook the heavens and the earth. The entire sky was dyed blood red, as if the end of the world had arrived. Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe it. The prodigy of the Serene Night race had died, and he had been easily killed by Lin Xian. This scene caused everyone to be extremely shocked, especially the ancient creatures of the Serene Night race. They let out crazed roars. No! You dare to kill him! You're dead! The Serene Feather race won't let you go. Damn it, I don't believe it. I definitely don't believe it. These people roared as if they had gone mad. A few of them rushed forward, wanting to attack Chu Feng. In the end, they were killed by Lin Xian's gaze. This scene caused the remaining archaic creatures to stop in their tracks. The other party was too strong. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and threw the 2 halves of the corpse in his hands to the ground. At the same time, his cold voice resounded in all directions. Remember, this guy isn't the first prodigy I've killed, and he won't be the last. Since he dared to challenge the human race, he must pay the corresponding price. Hearing this, the human race martial artists were extremely excited. They raised their arms and cheered loudly. Lin Xian! Lin Xian! Central Emperor! Central Emperor! They were too excited, too emotional. This battle would definitely make the human race proud. The dark red divine dragon also waved its dragon claw and opened a treasure bottle. It directly collected the 2 halves of the corpse and the blood that filled the sky. Then he beamed with joy. This was great. These were all excellent cultivation resources. Kid, where are we going next? Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He turned to look at the people around him and asked in a low voice. Who knew if there were other prodigies nearby? It was said that there were prodigies of the flying mantis race nearby. but he didn't know if they were still there. Someone said, there seemed to be prodigies of the Green Vine race in the Ninely dynasty. Someone said another piece of news. After Lin Xian heard this, he nodded. He tore the void and soared into the sky with the dark red divine dragon, leaving the imperial capital. Follow me. There might be an earth-shattering battle. The people in the imperial capital were extremely shocked. They also left the imperial capital to search for Lin Xian. In an instant, most of the martial artists had left. A small number of people were crazily passing on the news. How could they not share such a shocking news? In the sky, the archaic creatures of the dark feather race were so angry that their bodies were trembling. Their prodigy had been killed, and even his corpse had been taken away. How were they going to explain this when they returned? No, they had to report this to the elders. They had to kill that kid. They also tore the void and quickly left. The bustling imperial capital calmed down once again. The elders and supreme existences in the imperial palace naturally watched the battle as well. Their eyes flashed. Lin Xian was really impressive. He could kill an archaic prodigy so easily. Chapter 28:20. Yes, as expected of one of the top prodigies of the human race. Everyone discussed. Of course, some sneered. He had killed so many Archean prodigies. Don't worry, the 10,000 Archean races won't let him off. Those who said that were naturally from the Empress faction. Now that Lin Xian was in the limelight and was so powerful, they naturally couldn't attack him directly. It seemed that they could only secretly contact the 10,000 Archean races and report Lin Xian's whereabouts to them. And that was exactly what they had done. Not long after, the news of Lin Xian killing the Dark Feather race's prodigy, Yu Yi, swept across the true spirit martial continent. In an instant, the world was in an uproar. Everyone was shocked. Another attack. Lin Xian killed another Archean prodigy. Heavens! He was too strong. Was he really going to dominate the world? I feel like the 10,000 Archean races are finished. With Lin Xian's strength, not many people could contend against him. Everyone was extremely excited and discussed spiritedly. When the 10,000 Archean races heard this, they gritted their teeth in anger. They swore that they would definitely find and kill him. However, not long after, another piece of news came. Yi Wudao fought a prodigy of the Blue Ghoul race and won easily. What? Yi Wudao also attacked? Everyone was even more shocked. There was also news from the Western Desert. Dustless fought a prodigy of the Lightning Blood race and successfully converted him into a Buddhist sect. This scene was even more shocking. An Archean prodigy was actually converted into a Buddhist sect. This was even more terrifying than killing him. This Dustless was seriously too terrifying. What kind of method did he use? Even those people of the older generation had faces full of fear. The 10,000 ancient races were also shocked. Damn it! Could this be the legendary and incomparably terrifying salvation scripture? Some of the grand elders of the sacred grounds were puzzled. The Sutra of Salvation was an extremely ancient ability. Legend had it that this cultivation technique didn't have much offensive power, but it could convert people. Once the Sutra of Salvation was used, it could convert everything into a Buddhist sect. Now it seemed that Dustless had very likely mastered this ancient Sutra of Salvation. The three titled prodigies had all made a move, which made everyone look forward to it. They wondered how the South Arch, Yin Nantian, was doing. Everyone was discussing. However, they realized that there wasn't much news about Yin Nantian. Could it be that he didn't make a move? They were puzzled. As for that northern demon, he was too mysterious. He hadn't appeared yet. Eastern Wilderness. In the middle of a swamp in the mountains, the earth split open, and a black head appeared. Across from him a blue figure. The blue figure's eyes flickered as he spoke in a deep voice. Who would have thought that this Lin Xian would be so unexpected? Previously, he had conferred the title of Middle Emperor, because he wanted to borrow the hands of the saints to kill him. Who would have thought that not only did they fail to kill him, but they also allowed him to grow stronger and stronger. Now even the primordial geniuses were no match for him. What should we do? Should he use some more power to kill him? The black head asked. The blue figure shook his head. There's no need. Things are out of our control. This kid has too many secrets. Other than the 9 yang divine body, there are more terrifying secrets. His sword chi is too sharp. It's not something an ordinary sword king can release. Even a peerless sword technique shouldn't be able to do that. I suspect that he has a terrifying attack power. A terrifying attack power. The blackhead was puzzled. The mysterious man in blue nodded. That's right. Think about it. The Eastern Wilderness sacred body is the descendant of Atharch. He has a lot of blood in his body. Moreover, the sacred body is a terrifying body constitution. In addition, he's in the hands of a clan of the ancients. He must have the inheritance of Atharch. It's natural that he's powerful. The South Tharch has the inheritance of Atharch. Of course he's terrifying. Wuxia from the Western Desert is the reincarnation of an ancient Buddha. He has the memories of his previous life. His bloodline power is probably terrifying too. Moreover, the Thousand Buddha Temple also has the inheritance of Atharch. These three could be said to have powerful bloodlines and terrifying inheritances. But what about Lin Xian? It's true that Lin Xian has the 9 yang divine body. But that alone isn't enough for him to contend against Yi Wudao and Yin Nantian. Unless he also has the inheritance of Atharch. The inheritance of Atharch. You're saying that he has the inheritance of Atharch. The blackhead was shocked after hearing this. The inheritance of Atharch is so tempting. Only sacred grounds and aristocratic families with extreme weapons have such things. The other sacred grounds and great sects have never had Atharch. Naturally, they can't have such great inheritances. Of course, people like Yin Nantian are very rare. The Yin family isn't a Tharch family, but Yin Nantian is very lucky. When he was young, he accidentally obtained the inheritance of Atharch. Probably not many people in the true spirit world have such luck. But now, Lin Xian might have the inheritance of Atharch. This is even more shocking. Then which Thearch's inheritance do you think he obtained? Every Tharch specializes in different domains. I can think of one with such powerful offensive power. You mean Tharch Shiman? The blackhead was shocked. Brother Shiman, the sword emperor of a generation, is extremely terrifying. Back then, his offensive power could be said to have swept through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He was known as the Tharch with the most terrifying offensive power in 1,000,000 years. Rumor has it that he fought his way into the immortal path and almost entered the immortal domain. Unfortunately, the immortal door didn't open in his era. Therefore, even though Tharch Shiman was heaven-defying, he still couldn't enter the immortal domain. In the end, his lifespan ran out and he died. There were too many legends about Tharch Shiman. His offensive power was very strong. When he first entered the sage realm, he caught an emperor weapon with his bare hands. When he became a great sage, he had already killed a quasi-emperor level peerless expert. In the end, after he became a half-emperor, there was a great dark turmoil. Several forbidden lands erupted with extremely terrifying tremors. The true spirit world is in danger. The human race is in danger. It was Tharch Shiman. With a sword in the sky, he swept through all 4 directions and finally quelled the turmoil. Rumor has it that Tharch Shiman fought against several terrifying enemies alone with a sword. In the end, he won. In fact, he even scared those terrifying existences away. It can be said that in terms of offensive power, there's really no Tharch that can compare to him. Tharch Simon's inheritance? It's really enviable. If you can get it. Before the blackhead finished speaking, the blue-robed figure in front of it exploded with a biting cold light. No hurry, I already have the inheritance of Atharch. If he really has the inheritance of Tharch Shiman, I can play with him then. Chapter 28-21. At this point, the blue-robed man's voice became fainter and fainter until it disappeared. Lin Xian didn't know that he was being watched by someone who had almost discovered his secret. He was related to the Shiman Great Emperor, but he didn't obtain the Shiman Great Emperor's inheritance. Instead, he obtained something that the Shiman Great Emperor once had. The Great Dragon Sword Soul. Although the mysterious blue-robed man didn't guess it correctly, he was pretty close to the mark. If the blue-robed man spread the news, everyone in the world would probably attack him. Not only the 10,000 ancient races, but even the human race wouldn't be able to resist. After all, the great dragon sword soul was a terrifying existence. If he could obtain it, he could very well become the next great emperor. Lin Xian didn't know about this. He was currently controlling the Black Earth to fly at full speed. He was looking for his next target. His target this time was the prodigy of the Green Vine race. The Green Vine race had an extraordinary origin. It was said that their ancestor was a natural green vine. After countless years of nurturing the primal chaos chi, he cultivated to become a terrifying existence. Although they weren't a royal race, the Green Vine race was still very famous among the 10,000 ancient races. Boom! In front, the void trembled as a terrifying force exploded, tearing the 9 heavens apart. Following that, several green rays of light shot into the sky, transforming into heavenly pillars that enveloped the Black Earth. The Black Earth shook violently, and Lin Xian furrowed his brows. The dark red divine dragon let out a shrill cry. Holy sh*t, who is so reckless as to attack us? Lin Xian's eyes emitted a golden light as he stared at the green light pillars. Then his lips curled into a cold smile. It's that prodigy from the Green Vine group. Lin Xian originally wanted to look for him, but he didn't expect him to come knocking on his door. That's right. Through his heavenly secret divine eyes, Lin Xian discovered that the green light pillars weren't ordinary light pillars but vines. However, they were too big and too bright. That was why they created such a scene. These vines were too terrifying. One of them whipped the Black Earth and sent it flying. Lin Xian, come out and face your death. At the same time, a cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. Inside the Black Earth, Lin Xian coldly snorted. Then his figure flashed and he walked out. He looked at the huge vines in the sky and said coldly, "Are you Qing Mu from the Green Vine clan?" "That's right, I'm Greenwood. Since you dared to kill one of my primordial geniuses, today is the day you die." Even as the voice echoed out, more and more vines appeared. Soon, the entire area for hundreds of thousands of kilometers was completely covered by vines. "Today is the day you die." In the sky, those terrifying vines flickered with incomparable light, transforming into long spears that pierced towards Lin Xian. These vines were too terrifying. They were even more terrifying than heaven-tier treasures. There were cyan runes on it. That was the terrifying power of the bloodline. Behind them, the human warriors who had followed Lin Xian to watch the battle immediately stopped when they saw this scene. They retreated madly. Not good, retreat quickly. It's the peerless genius of the Green Vine clan. Oh heavens, they're fighting again. The Green Vine clan is so terrifying. The human warriors behind them were like small boats in the wind. Although they were so far away, they still felt a wave of fear. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. He punched out, and the terrifying fist illuminated the surroundings. It was like a sun that blasted away the surrounding vines. At the same time, he waved his arm, and streaks of sword chi slashed forward. These sword chi were incomparably sharp. They cut through heaven and earth and slashed forward. In an instant, many of the surrounding vines were cut in half by the sword chi, and fell from the sky. Damn it! Seeing this scene, Qing Mu frowned. He snorted coldly, and the surrounding vines became even more terrifying. Above them, runes rotated and quickly resisted the surrounding sword chi. Between heaven and earth, there was an intense collision. Large cracks were everywhere, and terrifying black holes were formed. With the two of them as the center, an invisible force spread out in all directions. The surrounding mountains, rivers, and trees all collapsed and ceased to exist. Their attacks were too terrifying. It was as if they were going to destroy the world. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing light. His aura also rose instantly. He was like a peerless sword god, getting sharper and sharper. In the sky full of stars and vines, a man in a green robe walked out. His face was cold, and his aura was terrifying. It was the peerless sky pride of the Green Vine clan, Qing Mu. A long green whip appeared in his hand, and he threw it forward. With a swing of the whip, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Lin Xian used the yin-yang 8 steps. Within 8 steps, his speed was extremely fast, and he quickly dodged the green whip. At the same time, he drew the ancient dragon abyss sword and released streaks of terrifying sword chi, slashing forward. Clang! Clang! Their weapons clashed in the sky, and it was a terrifying sight. Qing Mu's face was gloomy. He was furious and wanted to kill the human in front of him. But after exchanging blows with his opponent, he was still shocked. His opponent was too powerful. After exchanging a few blows, the blood in his body was boiling, and his arm was numb. His opponent was indeed powerful to be able to kill so many Archean Sky Prides. However, he would not lose. As the Sky Pride of the Green Vine clan, he was powerful. More importantly, his vitality was vigorous, and he had an extremely strong recovery ability. It could be said that it was impossible to kill him, unless those terrifying sacred leaders and sect leaders killed him in one blow. Otherwise, as long as he was still breathing, he would not die. This was the terrifying part of the Green Vine clan, and also his trump card. So now, he attacked crazily without any regard for anything else. Boom! 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 Winds and clouds changed between heaven and earth, and energy surged. The sun, moon, and stars dimmed. The whip in Qing Mu's hand seemed to have transformed into a green dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, the human experts were watching the battle through various secret techniques. They were very nervous. They discovered that Qing Mu was even more terrifying than the Yu Yi from before. Moreover, they knew that the Green Vine clan had an extremely strong recovery ability, so they were very nervous. Not only were they watching, but the experts of the Ninely dynasty were also paying close attention. Apart from these humans, a dozen Archean creatures were also gathered in a certain city of the Ninely dynasty. They stood with their heads behind their backs, looking up at the sky. Not a single human dared to take a step into their surroundings. At this moment, these people were also paying attention to the situation above. Chapter 28-22. His sword chi was simply too sharp. Moreover, his defense was unparalleled. No wonder he could kill so many Archean prodigies. One of the Archean creatures had a gloomy expression. It seemed like the human race still had some prodigies. The other person sneered. So what? How dare he be so arrogant in front of the 10,000 Archean races? He's definitely dead. The third person said. Originally, they wanted to let the Archean royal prodigies take care of him, but they didn't expect him to encounter the Greenwood prodigies. Don't worry, he's definitely dead. The one who spoke was also an Archean creature from the Green Vine race. The other Archean creatures all turned their heads. Oh, could it be that Brother Greenwood is confident this time? Of course. The Archean creature from the Green Vine race had a proud expression. This time Brother Greenwood brought the Greenwood sword. The Greenwood sword? You mean that terrifying half-saint weapon? That's right, it's that half-saint weapon. When the surrounding human cultivators heard this, they were extremely puzzled. So what if he had a half-saint weapon? Lin Xian had one too. Moreover, in the previous battles, prodigies of their level rarely used half-saint weapons. Because both sides had them, it was useless to take them out. They might as well use their own strength. But now it seemed that these Archean creatures were so confident. Could it be that there was something special about this half-saint weapon? They didn't know, but thinking about it, they should be able to see it soon. Buzz in the sky. An extremely powerful energy fluctuation flickered, causing everyone to feel a sense of oppression. What's that? Everyone exclaimed when they saw a green ancient sword in Greenwood's hand. Its appearance was very simple, and green light flowed on it. There were runes on it that flickered incomparably. A half-saint weapon. A terrifying half-saint weapon. Everyone exclaimed because only half-saint and saint weapons had runes on them. A half-saint weapon? Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He also had a half-saint weapon, and more than one. He even had the saint's hand bone, and the flower protector. It was just that he hadn't used them before. Seeing his opponent use a half-saint weapon, Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, the 9-story pagoda appeared beside him. It emitted a terrifying aura. Another half-step saint tool had appeared. The two semi-sage tools surged in the sky. Dreadful Dao patterns flickered, and formed an incomparably terrifying storm that swept out in all directions. Is this your trump card? But it's useless against me. Lin Xian frowned as he looked at the other party. Kid, you've underestimated me. And you've underestimated our Green Vine clan. Do you think this is just an ordinary half-saint tool? Today I'll show you how powerful it is. Boom! Boom! As he spoke, the ancient azure sword in his hand suddenly blossomed with incomparable light, causing the surroundings to rapidly tremble. An extremely terrifying power burst out from his body. At this moment, everyone's blood surged, their faces pale, as if their bodies were penetrated. What a terrifying sword energy! This Qing Mu was actually a peerless sword king. Why do I feel that his sword aura isn't any weaker than Lin Xian's? Two great sword kings fighting? It was truly earth-shattering. Everyone discussed as they quickly retreated, because the aura in front of them was becoming more and more terrifying. It directly turned into a sky full of azure light that rushed into the 9 heavens and blasted out in all directions. The powerful figures of the Nine Li dynasty also raised their heads, their faces full of shock, because this sword energy was too terrifying, as if it could destroy everything. Within the city, the eyes of the archaic creatures also flickered. As expected of the Greenwood sword, it was indeed powerful. The archaic creatures of the Greenwood clan were even more proud. That was natural. With the Greenwood sword, it was enough to threaten the prides of the archaic royal family. It would definitely be able to kill that kid. Boom! The Greenwood sword slowly raised, and then slashed forward. Suddenly, the entire world was distorted. An endless azure light covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. At this moment they couldn't see anything. They could only see the peerless sword light shining. Not good run. Some of the people who were too close were affected by the green sword light. They fled madly, but it was still too late. Some people were directly swept by the azure sword light, and their bodies were split into dozens of pieces. Some were directly pierced through and nailed to the ground. Some were cut into a bloody mess by the sword and no longer existed. It was too terrifying. These people were all experts, but at this moment, they couldn't even block the aftershock of the sword energy. On the human side, some of the saints frowned. No, was a half-saint artifact so powerful? One had to know that a half-saint artifact was very terrifying. Only some of the top invincible kings could use it at full strength. It would be difficult for them to use its full power in their hands. However, the half-saint artifact in the opponent's hand was too powerful. It was as if it wasn't used by a young genius, but by a sacred lord. What was going on? Damn it, this Qingting clan was really strange. No wonder they dared to use a half-saint artifact. These people's faces were gloomy, and they didn't know how Lin Xian would deal with it. In the middle ground, the princes of the dynasties had also come, and even the prince of the great Xia dynasty had also come. His eyes shone with a piercing light as he stared at the battle. He was also very curious about how Lin Xian would deal with it. Although he hadn't fought with Qing Mu before, there was a very terrifying genius in the royal family who had fought with him. Although that genius wasn't as strong as him, he was also a very terrifying genius in the royal family. However, he still lost to Qing Mu. It was the Greenwood sword in the opponent's hand that had defeated the genius of the royal family. Therefore, the prince of the great Xia dynasty became very serious when facing the Greenwood sword. Lin Xian was also surrounded by countless azure sword energy, and when it hit his body, it made sonorous, thunderous sounds. Endless fiery light pierced through the surroundings, forming one terrifying black hole after another. His eyes turned a terrifying golden color, as if they were going to devour people. Competing with sword energy? How interesting. He didn't expect that the opponent was also a sword king, and such a terrifying one at that. Coupled with this half-saint artifact, it was really terrifying. However, when had he ever been afraid of others in the sword Dao? Humph! With a cold snort, terrifying sword energy erupted from his body and swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The sword energy took the shape of a dragon and rushed into the sky, as if 10,000 dragons were roaring. The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, Lin Xian's figure became more and more resplendent. Even though there were thousands of azure sword lights, everyone could still see him clearly. At this moment, all the warriors, including the humans, the ancient creatures, and the older generation experts, looked up at the sky. Heavens, what was that? When they saw this scene, they were extremely shocked. Chapter 28-23. That's right, it was indeed Lin Xian. At this moment Lin Xian was extremely powerful, causing everyone's bodies to tremble. He seemed to have transformed into a peerless sword god. In front of him, a dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared and suppressed the surroundings. What was that? The ancient creatures in the distance screamed. Qing Mu's pupils also constricted because he felt a terrifying aura from the dragon-shaped sword shadow. That aura could still pose a threat to him. The other human experts, saints' sons, and geniuses all exclaimed in surprise. It was that dragon-shaped sword shadow again. They knew that Lin Xian had an extremely terrifying dragon-shaped sword shadow. He had even gathered countless powers to split open the nest of 10,000 dragons. It could be said that it was extremely strange and terrifying. Until now, they still hadn't figured out what that dragon-shaped sword shadow was. However, that didn't stop them from being terrified of it. After Lin Xian displayed the dragon-shaped sword shadow, the aura on his body rose infinitely, and the entire world trembled with him. Tens of thousands of sword lights swept in all directions. Buzz! Lin Xian reached out his palm and grabbed the dragon-shaped sword shadow. He waved his long sword and pointed it forward. Boom! 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 Dragon roars sounded one after another. In the distance, Qing Mu's body trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. He felt as if what his opponent was holding was not a sword, but a dragon. It was an incomparably terrifying dragon. Moreover, the dragon's might emitted from it suppressed his soul and bloodline. Damn it! Qing Mu's expression was extremely ugly. He originally thought that after he took out his Qing Mu sword, he could easily kill his opponent. However, he didn't expect his opponent to have such a terrifying thing. Moreover, it seemed to be even more terrifying than his Qing Mu sword. At this moment, his Qing Mu sword began to tremble rapidly, as if it couldn't resist at all. Everyone was terrified when they saw this. Even such a terrifying saint artifact couldn't resist it? This Lin Xian was really terrifying. No, damn it, I don't believe it. I can't lose to you. Qing Mu angrily roared. Green light blossomed from his body, and the Qing Mu sword in his hand emitted an incomparably sharp light. Around him, green vines quickly intertwined, crawling under his feet. Activating the power of his bloodline, a green plant appeared between his eyebrows, emitting a terrifying aura. At this moment, his strength had increased once again. Die for me! With a furious roar, tens of thousands of cyan sword lights crisscrossed, causing everyone to panic. The dreadful green sword light slashed out, and the heaven and earth were split into pieces. This was the power of a semi-sage tool. It was accompanied by countless Dao patterns in the sky. On the other side, Lin Xian also snorted coldly as he activated his sword soul and released a dragon-shaped sword qi. It was like a giant dragon dancing in the sky. The two sword qis collided in the air, erupting with unparalleled power. Boom! Boom! The sword light that filled the sky rumbled, tearing the 9 heavens and 10 earths apart. The impact of that energy caused all the surrounding experts to vomit blood. Their faces were filled with terror. It was too terrifying. Of these two people, one had an incomparably terrifying sword shadow that seemed no different from a true dragon. The other was able to use a semi-sage tool to such a terrifying extent, far surpassing the younger generation. It could be said that these two were both monsters. Even an invincible king wouldn't dare to casually step forward in such a battle. This was because a single shockwave was enough to kill them. Boom! Boom! In the sky, the two divine swords collided 9 times. The entire world was filled with countless large cracks. On the 9th collision, Qing Mu's arm was chopped off. The Qing Mu sword in his hand flew into the sky, trembling nonstop. Boom! As for Qing Mu, his expression was incomparably ugly. This was because not only his arm, but his entire body was also filled with cracks. His opponent's sword qi was too cold. Even if he could use a semi-sage tool to a terrifying extent, it was still very difficult for him to resist it. He found it hard to believe. Damn it! He quickly retreated. Countless vines intertwined on his body, forming a green sea in front of him to block the sword qi. The green vines surged, emitting an incomparably terrifying power. However, they only blocked it for an instant. In the next moment, all the vines were cut apart, turning into spirit qi that dissipated into the world. However, this was enough for Qing Mu. He had already retreated tens of thousands of miles away. Blood flowed wildly from his body. He was injured. Qing Mu was actually injured. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. This was especially so for the ancient creatures. They were extremely shocked. That was Qing Mu, who was incomparably powerful. Moreover, he had used the Qing Mu sword. One had to know that the Qing Mu sword had been nourished by Qing Mu's blood for many years. Although it was a semi-sage tool, Qing Mu could unleash energy that far surpassed what a young prodigy could use. It could be said that if other prodigies encountered Qing Mu, they wouldn't have any chance of survival. But now Qing Mu was actually injured, while his opponent was completely unharmed. This was truly unbelievable. Damn it! What exactly was that dragon-shaped sword shadow? Could it be that it was also a semi-sage tool? Or could it be a sage tool? Impossible. With that kid's strength, he still couldn't use a complete sage tool. It should be a special kind of accompanying sacred artifact. The ancient creatures' faces were extremely gloomy. The human powerhouses were also discussing animatedly. Qing Mu was so angry that his entire body trembled. He had never felt that his life was in danger like today. He couldn't bear it anymore. In the next moment he roared crazily. The green light flashed and healed all his wounds. Buzz! He was as good as new. Damn kid. It'll let you know the price of injuring me. Qing Mu once again walked over like a god fiend. What? He's as good as new. How did he do it? How terrifying is Lin Xian's sword qi? He's actually as good as new in an instant. Those people were extremely shocked. They only knew how terrifying Lin Xian's sword qi was. As long as one was hit by it, it would probably be very difficult to erase it. However, Qing Mu actually had such power. Even Lin Xian was extremely surprised. He narrowed his eyes. Qing Mu was actually able to destroy the indestructible aura of the great dragon sword soul. He had to admit that he was really surprised. At that moment, the dark red divine dragon transmitted its voice. Kid, he's from the Green Vine tribe. The vitality of the Green Vine tribe was extremely strong. It could be said that they were indestructible. As long as they had a drop of blood, they would be able to defeat Wuxia. That's their bloodline talent. You have to be careful. Bloodline talent? It's so magical. Lin Xian was extremely surprised. It seemed that Qing Mu's bloodline wasn't about combat strength but recovery. That was beyond his expectations. It was the first time he had seen an ancient creature with such tenacious vitality. However, so what if it was tenacious? If a drop of blood could regenerate, then he would destroy all of Qing Mu's blood. I'll see how you're going to be reborn. Chapter 28-24. His opponent was indeed very powerful, and his regenerative ability was a headache for many prodigies. However, that was not a problem for Lin Mu. He had more than one way to kill Lin Mu. In the next moment, he snorted coldly and quickly charged out. The terrifying sword light exploded again. Terrifying cracks appeared in the sky one after another, spreading into the distance with terrifying and indestructible power. Kill! Qing Mu also charged forward. He released his bloodline power and swung the greenwood sword in his hand. The two of them clashed again. However, this time, Qing Mu was defeated even more miserably. His body was once again severed at the waist. I don't believe it. Heal! His bloodline power erupted, and his body healed once again with a powerful life force recovery ability. However, not long after, his body was cut open again. This time he was cut into 4 pieces. Lin Xian looked down like a god fiend. Let's see how many times you can heal. As he spoke, the sword qi on his body became even more dazzling. Everyone was stunned when they saw that. He was too powerful. The terrifying prodigy of the Green Vine tribe was suppressed even when he used the greenwood sword. His body was cut open many times. If it were not for his strong regenerative ability, he would have been killed long ago. Even so, Qing Mu would not be able to hold on for long. After all, he only had a strong regenerative ability, but he was not truly immortal. As expected, after the 20th recovery, Qing Mu's face was abnormally pale. His bloodline power had weakened, and he did not have much energy left in his body. After all, every time he recovered, he had to consume a large amount of bloodline power to resist the indestructible sword intent of the dragon sword soul. When he was cut open for the 21st time, Qing Mu's expression changed. Qing Mu's expression finally changed. He knew that the young man before him was stronger than him. He did not dare to continue fighting, because if he continued fighting he would probably be killed here. Therefore, at the next moment he gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, I'll let you be proud this time. The next time we meet, I'll definitely kill you with my sword." As soon as he finished speaking, his body swayed, and he quickly flew into the distance. Seeing that, everyone was shocked. Qing Mu had escaped. Could it be that Qing Mu had been defeated? Heavens, the terrifying Green Vine clan, a genius with such vigorous vitality, had actually been defeated. His opponent's sword chi was too terrifying. "You wanna leave? Can you leave?" Lin Xian sneered as he watched the other party flee. Greenwood roared angrily, "Damn brat, don't be too arrogant. Although your sword chi is terrifying, you won't be able to kill me in a short period of time, so quickly stop. Otherwise, don't blame me for going all out." Seeing that the other party was still intending to make a move, Qing Mu roared furiously. He was already sullen enough after his defeat today. Now his opponent wanted to continue hunting him down. How could he tolerate this? "Do you think you're very strong? Do you think I can't kill you just because you're full of vitality? Do you think I only have sword techniques?" Lin Xian sneered and quickly formed a seal with his palms. One after another, profound palm prints appeared. Soon, a pair of golden eyes appeared in the sky, looking down at the earth like a god. As soon as the golden eye appeared, the people below began to tremble. Their souls trembled, and they couldn't help but want to kowtow. Damn it, what is that? That was especially true for those ancient life forms. They were terrified. That pair of golden eyes was simply too cold. Greenwood also felt that he was enveloped by a strange energy. In the next moment he screamed in pain. Not good. It was a soul attack. He screamed crazily. He didn't expect the other party to have such a terrifying method. His soul was ignited and burned crazily. The pain made him despair and terrified. Although he was from the Green Vine race and had strong recovery abilities, that only referred to the recovery ability of the physical body, not the recovery ability of the soul. Therefore, once his soul was damaged, it would be very difficult for him to recover. He might even be killed. The heavenly secret divine eyes were too powerful. In addition, Lin Xian used it with all his might. The power of the soul burning made Greenwood unable to resist at all. Soon he fell from the sky. His eyes were empty. It was obvious that he had been killed. No. When the 10,000 ancient races saw this scene, they screamed crazily and rushed over. Especially the immemorial creatures of the Green Vine race. They roared crazily. After a round of investigation, they were dumbstruck. Greenwood was dead. Their clan's genius had actually been killed by someone. How was this possible? One had to know that Greenwood's physical body had been shattered more than 20 times, but he could still revive. He even had the strength to fight. Now his physical body was fine, but his soul was directly destroyed. Damn it, this kid was actually a soul expert. They couldn't accept this fact at all. The other immemorial creatures were also terrified when they saw this scene. The other party's methods were too strange, especially the soul attack. It was impossible to guard against. This made them extremely shocked. The human race's cultivators were also shocked. Dead, another primordial prodigy had died. Lin Xian was too powerful. That's right, how many archaic prodigies had been killed already? He was too dazzling. It would be difficult for him to live long. Some people had grave expressions. Indeed, Lin Xian was too dazzling. Such a human prodigy would definitely cause the 10,000 ancient races to be wary. It probably wouldn't be long before the true powerhouses of the 10,000 ancient races arrived and secretly killed Lin Xian to prevent future troubles. In truth, the human race's experts guessed correctly. After the 10,000 ancient races received this news, they immediately began to secretly discuss. This youth was too unusual. He probably had the potential to become a young great emperor. They didn't expect that there would be someone besides a saint physique with such terrifying strength. He had to be eliminated. Otherwise, if he was allowed to grow, he would become an unimaginable enemy. The elders and experts of the 10,000 ancient races discussed and decided to immediately eliminate Lin Xian. Although Lin Xian was strong and had heaven-defying talent, he was different from Yi Daodinier. Behind Yi Daodinier stood the primordial aristocratic families. They had extreme weapons that could suppress everything. For the time being, they didn't dare to make a move. After all, if they angered the Yi family, and the Yi family activated their extreme weapons, the 10,000 ancient races wouldn't be able to resist. Only the theocrats would be able to resist. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, they didn't dare to make a move against Yi Daodinier, unless no one had a handle on him. But Lin Xian was different. Although he was also the master of Immortal Palace, they hadn't heard that Immortal Palace had any extreme weapons. So what if Immortal Palace was angry if they killed him? The 10,000 ancient races were powerful. How could they fear Immortal Palace? For a time, several true experts of the 10,000 ancient races moved. Their target was Lin Xian. Chapter 28-25. After Lin Xian killed the prodigy of the Green Vine race, Qingmu, he went on his way. Next, he killed 2 more primordial prodigies. In an instant, the world was in an uproar. Everyone, especially the primordial prodigies, was in a state of panic because the other party was too powerful. The humans were also shocked. They guessed that Lin Xian should have the strength of the primordial royal race. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to kill so many primordial prodigies. A royal prodigy? It was really shocking. The faces of the older generation were filled with amazement. Lin Xian, you brat. Wash your neck and wait for me to kill you. At this moment, a shocking piece of news came from the horizon. In an instant, the world was shocked. Who dared to say such words at a time like this? Heaven, it was the primordial royal race. The primordial royal race was about to make a move. Everyone was shocked because they realized that the person who said that was from the South Sea Divine Crocodile race. The South Sea Divine Crocodile race had just recovered recently and was extremely powerful, surpassing the primordial race like the Silver Lightning race. It was a lineage of the primordial royal race. And this time, the person who said that was a prodigy of the South Sea Divine Crocodile race. Was the primordial royal race finally going to make a move on Lin Xian? In 7 days, it'll be waiting for you at the Sunset Peak. Lin Xian said so. He took the Black Master to the Sunset Peak. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to really dare to accept the challenge. It was really a shocking battle. A golden age. A peerless prodigy. Who was stronger, the humans or the primordial royal race? Everyone was shocked. The primordial creatures were also interested and headed to the Dawnfall Peak. As for the humans, they swarmed over in droves. Even Yi Wudao, the prince of the Great Xia dynasty, the Alcate sage, and the others rushed over. Many primordial races had come out, but this was the first time that a primordial royal race prodigy was fighting in front of everyone. Perhaps this was an extremely good opportunity to obtain information, to investigate and sense just what level of strength the prides of the ancient royal family had reached. The words of the 2 prodigies shook the world, and countless experts gathered at the Sunset Peak. Lin Xian took the Black Master and arrived at the Sunset Peak early. Although the Sunset Peak was only a mountain, it was incomparably vast and stretched for hundreds of thousands of miles. In the surrounding mountains, countless figures were flickering. Lin Xian chose the highest peak and sat cross-legged, absorbing the essence of heaven, earth, sun and moon and cultivated silently. To be honest, he was really looking forward to the Sunset Peak. The first 6 days had been very quiet. Although there were more and more people around, no one made a ruckus. They were all patiently waiting. On the 7th day, an extremely terrifying whistling sound suddenly came from the horizon. Following that, a large number of projections fell from the sky, as if dark clouds were pressing down. Along with it was an extremely terrifying aura that overflowed into the heavens. Here it comes. At this moment, all of the martial artists and ancient life forms, in the surrounding hundreds of thousands of miles of mountain range, opened their eyes and looked up into the distance. "Sun at Lin Xian, you brat, you really dared to come." A cold laugh came from the sky. The sound shattered the world. The ground cracked. The sky was pierced and black holes appeared one after another. How terrifying. Just an aura was enough to create such a terrifying scene. Was this the power of the Sunset Peak Race's prodigy? It was really too terrifying. There were probably not many people in the younger generation who could compete with him. Everyone was trembling, especially the human martial artists, who were terrified. The 10,000 ancient races were simply too strong. Even the primordial life forms were stunned. But soon they clenched their fists. "Great, the Sunset Peak Race's prodigy has made his move. This time we must kill him." That's right. What emperor of the human race? In front of the 10,000 ancient races, he's just an ant-like existence. Just you wait. This time, you humans will lose without a doubt. These ancient creatures were very arrogant. They were high and mighty, and no human race cultivators dared to step into their territory. Everyone fell silent when they heard this, because they didn't know what the final outcome of this battle would be. However, Lin Xian's supporters quickly counterattacked. What's so great about that? That's right, it's not the first time I've heard this. Previously, your Sunset Peak Race's prodigies were also very arrogant, but weren't they still killed by our god Lin Xian? What did you say? You're courting death. The ancient creatures were enraged. Lin Xian's supporters snorted coldly. What's wrong? You've been killed, but you won't let us say anything. You ancient creatures are too domineering. That's right, don't be arrogant here if you have the ability. Go and compete with god Lin Xian. Let's see if you can block his sword energy. You're courting death. Several ancient creatures were enraged on the spot. They reached out with their palms, covering the sky and the sun. They were like ancient demonic mountains that pressed down. They wanted to crush those who spoke into pieces. The human race cultivators were terrified. The other party was too terrifying. In an instant their bodies stiffened. Of course, there were also people who roared and used their artifacts, preparing to fight to the death. Just as the battle was about to erupt, a cold snort was heard. A golden light in the sky cut through the void like a sharp sword, blocking everyone. Watch the battle carefully. A cold voice sounded. There were only a few words, but everyone's scalp went numb, and they didn't dare to say anything else. Even the ancient creatures were stunned. They seemed to have a feeling of suffocation. This kind of feeling only appeared when they faced the ancient royal family. Damn it, who is it? They looked up at the sky. In the sky, there was a golden figure. It was the human race's Saint Physique. Instead, it was Leaf Daudinier. A wisp of light on his body directly suppressed those people. This was especially true for suppressing these ancient creatures. Those ancient creatures withdrew their power and didn't attack again. On the other side, the human race cultivators also breathed a sigh of relief. Yi Wudao is here. He's really strong. As expected of Eastern Sage. He's so powerful that just a wisp of his aura can suppress those ancient creatures. It's really a golden age. On the other side, a whistling sound rang out. The chaotic chi in the sky flickered, turning into a terrifying chaotic light. It carried a peerless beauty and slowly descended. Saint of all beginnings. It's her. This woman is getting more and more terrifying. Everyone discussed again. Tao can be spoken, but it's not Tao. Accompanied by an ethereal voice, a majestic figure descended. There were mysterious runes flickering around him one after another. It was really terrifying. Daoyi Sage! Everyone exclaimed. The pupils of those ancient creatures also shrank. The appearance of these human sky prides was simply too terrifying. Chaotic chi and innate Tao patterns had both appeared. It was really shocking. It wasn't over yet. After the Saint of all beginnings, Daoyi Sage, and the others, several more figures descended from the sky. They were all human prodigies. Chapter 28-26. That person was none other than the Alcate Saint. The other person had the phantom of a phoenix on her body, suppressing the primordial creatures, causing their blood to freeze. Damn it, what a strong bloodline power. How could the human race have such a bloodline? They were shocked as they looked at the figure in horror. That figure was incomparably flickering. Her body was surrounded by a terrifying light, leaving behind a faint phantom of a phoenix that circled around her. The other human martial artists also exclaimed in surprise. The Jade Lake Saintess. The Jade Lake Saintess had arrived. Rumor had it that she had a mysterious bloodline, but they didn't expect it to be the Phoenix bloodline. Yes, it couldn't be done in the past, but now that the 10,000 ancient races had appeared, the Jade Lake Saintess bloodline had finally reappeared in the world. It was the incomparably terrifying Phoenix bloodline. That's right, the person who had arrived was Morong Qingcheng. Her Phoenix bloodline was fully activated at this moment, causing her strength to undergo an earth-shattering change. Sister Qingcheng. On the other side, purple clouds churned. A beautiful woman rode on a purple cloud and descended quickly. She was like a fairy in the mortal world. Saint Zixia. Heavenly spiritual body. She actually had a heavenly spiritual body. Among the primordial creatures, several primordial geniuses screamed as if they had seen a ghost. The humans were also astonished. What, Saint Zixia actually had a heavenly spiritual body? Heavens! The heavenly spiritual body was similar to the Tao body. It was close to heaven and earth, not weaker than the heavenly spiritual body. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Shen Jingxiu to have a terrifying heavenly spiritual body. This Lin Xian was really heaven-defying. His two little female companions actually had such terrifying physiques. Everyone naturally knew the relationship between Morong Qingcheng, Shen Jingxiu, and Lin Xian. This made everyone speechless because Lin Xian himself had the 9-yang divine body, and his sword qi was terrifying. The people around him were also terrifying. That dark red snake wasn't a snake, but a dragon. The two female companions beside him both had heaven-defying physiques, and he even had a friend like Yi Wudao. It could be said that he was really strong to the peak. However, there were older generation figures who shook their heads and sighed. Things that were too hard were easy to break. Perhaps this time, this Lin Xian of Zhonghuang was really in danger. The other holy sons, holy daughters, and sky prides fell silent. The archaic creatures sneered again and again. In the sky, the huge projections became more and more terrifying. They were like ancient demonic mountains that pressed down in all directions. Those who were weaker could not withstand it at all. Their bodies trembled, and even the saints and geniuses turned pale. Boom! Boom! The terrifying dark clouds churned and tore apart as a giant head poked out. The head was larger than a mountain, and its terrifying eyes were emitting a merciless light. He stared at the human warriors below. This time around, quite a number of saints and geniuses have come. However, you bunch of trash are really unable to withstand a single blow from me. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and grabbed downwards. This palm was simply too terrifying. It covered a radius of tens of thousands of miles. As it pressed down, the void collapsed completely. Boom! 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 The 5 elements saint and 10,000 thunder saint were sent flying while vomiting blood. The freedom saint was also sent flying. It was too terrifying. These holy sons and holy daughters were originally the top sky prides of the human race. However, at this moment, they were nothing in front of the archaic royal sky prides. What a bunch of trash. The Silver Lightning Tribe, Fire Cloud Tribe, and Tiango Tribe sky pride sneered. The human race's faces were extremely ugly. Damn it, they were too arrogant. The other party actually dared to attack their sky prides. Yi Wudao, the All-Kate Saint, the Great Xia Prince, Wuchen, and the others snorted coldly. Their eyes emitted a cold light, as if they were about to attack. However, at this moment, a few more terrifying lights came from the sky. Buzz! A blood-red moon appeared in the sky, dyeing the entire sky blood-red. The light emitted by the moon chilled everyone's hearts, and even their blood froze. Not good, it's another archaic royal. The human race exclaimed. They knew that it was the Blood Moon tribe, which was also an archaic royal. It seemed that the sky prides of the Blood Knight tribe had also come out. The archaic creatures trembled, and many of them even prostrated themselves on the ground. They had no choice, as they had to submit to the royal family. The blood-red moon in the sky rotated slowly, emitting a terrifying aura. One of the rays flew towards the Reverence Moon Saint. Courting death. The Reverence Moon Saint's face changed instantly, but soon he roared. He would fight even if it meant risking the honor of the Reverence Moon sect. How could he escape in front of so many human sky prides and experts? With a furious roar, he unleashed all of his power without holding back. A full moon also appeared behind her. The source of the Reverence Moon sect's power was the moon. Therefore, they cultivated the moon technique. At this moment, the full moon behind him collided with the blood-red moon. With a loud boom, heaven and earth shook. Countless large cracks appeared on the ground. Puff! The Reverence Moon Saint vomited a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He fainted. The full moon that he had unleashed was smashed to pieces. The blood-red moon was completely undamaged. The rays of light on it became even more demonic. What? He couldn't even block a single attack. The human race cultivators were terrified. The people of the Reverence Moon cult cried out in alarm and hurriedly rescued the Reverence Moon Holy Sun. Everyone's face turned ugly. The Reverence Moon Saint couldn't even block a single attack from the other party. Was the gap between them that big? These people were filled with despair. Hee, there were so many of them. How many of them would die in this battle? It would be best if all of them died. All of your souls are mine. The surrounding people trembled. Such a strange voice rang in their ears, and it made their scalps go numb. Even the archaic creatures were terrified. The sky prides of the Blue Devil tribe had come. Damn it, don't kill me. They were terrified. There was no other way. The Blue Devil tribe was an archaic royal family, and they were cruel by nature. They loved to collect soul stones. Those who were targeted by them, whether they were humans, demons, or 10,000 archaic races, could not escape. It could be said that they were a terrifying god of death. TSK, a bunch of trash. A disdainful voice rang out. A blue figure appeared in the sky and confronted the blood-red moon. The other party did not emit any strange scene. He just stood there. His entire body was blue, as if he was made of blue crystal. His face was ferocious like a demon. There was a horn on his head and a pair of blue wings on his back. In his left hand, he held a black demonic banner, and in his right hand was a trident. His body emitted a biting cold aura that could make people faint at a glance. He was the sky prides of the Blue Devil tribe. At this moment, the sky was divided into 3 parts. One part was blood-red, and the blood-red moon was rotating slowly. The other part was the sky prides of the Blue Devil tribe. The last part was pitch-black clouds. A head was ferocious and let out a terrifying roar. Chapter 28-27. The 3 sky prides of the far ancient royals were chatting in the sky, but the aura they emitted shocked everyone. Was the Blood Moon clan that powerful? Take my fist. Below, Yuadeo's body suddenly erupted with a fierce golden light, and a golden fist blasted towards the sky. You're courting death. An angry voice rang out, and the blood-colored moon in the sky spun crazily. Then it came crashing down with the force of Mount Tai. Boom! When the 2 of them collided, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. A violent storm spread out in all directions with the 2 of them as the center. Not good dodge. Screams rang out. They were too close, and they were about to be killed. At this moment, some of the elders of the Holy Lands took out their bejeweled weapons and worked together to form a light screen. Only then did they manage to protect everyone. Otherwise, just the aftermath of this energy would be enough to kill most of the people present. They were saved. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and looked up at the sky. They wanted to see the result. Yi Wudao retracted his fist and said indifferently, "The Blood Moon clan was nothing more than this." He stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm. The blood-colored moon in the sky spun continuously, and the terrifying killing intent was getting more and more terrifying. Amitba, he wasn't the only one who moved. Dustless also chanted Buddhist scriptures and stood up. Buddhist light bloomed from his body as he stared at the sky pride of the Blue Devil clan. "Little monk, how dare you have designs on me? I'll take your soul away today." The sky pride of the Blue Devil clan laughed sinisterly. The soul-summoning banner in his hand moved quickly. Suddenly, countless vengeful spirits appeared, and a terrifying voice rang out. Everyone's scalps went numb, as if their souls were about to be pierced. Buzz the living fossil elder took out a treasure and froze it in midair. Only then was he able to protect everyone. Dustless faced all this with a calm expression. His fingers moved quickly, and all the light energy was stuck to his fingertip. It formed a very beautiful flower. Flower-pinching finger. A Buddhist grand mystique. Many people screamed. The flower-pinching finger was too terrifying, and it could destroy all attacks. As expected, the attack of the Blue Devil clan's Sky Pride was destroyed by the flower-pinching finger. What a strange mystique! The genius from the Blue Devil clan also frowned. Although it was just a simple move, he could sense how terrifying his opponent was. In the blink of an eye, the two royals were glaring at Leaf Doudinier, Dustless, and the others. The two of them were still fearless as they confronted each other. The atmosphere in the sky became more and more tense. The elders and experts of the human race joined forces to set up a formation that covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles to protect the lives of the spectators. Otherwise, no one would dare to watch such a shocking battle. These people were all experts from the great sects of the Holy Lands. The array that they brought out was truly terrifying. It could definitely protect everyone. In the sky, the giant head of the Southern Sea Crocodile god also turned. He said, "Gentlemen, give me some face today. After I kill that brat, the two of you can make your move." The Sky Pride of the Blood Moon clan nodded coldly. The Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan also smiled. Fine, fine. They'll give you face today and let you fight first. Their figures swayed. They stood on the clouds and looked down. Leaf Doudinier and Dustless retracted their gazes. Dustless chanted Umitba and retreated as well. The two of them were still fearless. No matter when the battle started, they were ready to fight. However, now wasn't the time for them to make a move. Their gazes pierced through the clouds and looked into the distance. At the peak of the mountain, there was a young figure sitting cross-legged. Lin Xian sat on the peak with his eyes closed. His hands were forming hand seals, and his robes fluttered as if he were asleep. Endless spiritual energy was inhaled and exhaled with every breath he took. What had happened earlier didn't affect his cultivation. It was as if had already transcended the mortal world. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. The Sky Pride of the Southern Sea Crocodile god clan did the same. He slowly turned his giant head and stared at the mountain below. "Kid, don't you think it's too late for you to cultivate now?" Two piercing rays of light shot out of his eyes, transforming into two flying swords that pierced through the void and shot toward Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye, they were right in front of Lin Xian. With a loud boom, the space around Lin Xian shattered rapidly. More than 10 large black holes appeared, bobbing up and down. However, Lin Xian still didn't react. He sat there as if had really fallen asleep. However, the mountain below him and himself weren't hurt at all. In fact, the two flying swords stopped when they were 1 meter away from him, as if they were caught by a pair of invisible hands. Ha! This scene stunned the Southern Sea Crocodile god clan, and the others frowned. Buzz Lin Xian opened his eyes. Stars flickered in his eyes as he looked forward. Instantly, the two flying swords turned into dust and scattered between heaven and earth. In the next moment, he stood up slowly, shook his robes, looked around and said calmly, "I'll be cultivating every day at this time. It won't change just because you're here. Alright, you can attack now." Lin Xian's voice was soft, but everyone heard it clearly. This scene shocked everyone, especially the archaic creatures. Their faces were filled with shock. He would be cultivating every day, and it wouldn't change just because an archaic paragon had arrived. This meant that Lin Xian didn't care about this battle at all. He was treating it as if nothing had happened. That's impossible. Shouldn't he be nervous and afraid? Damn it! This brat must be hiding something. The archaic creatures sneered. The humans were also shocked. It seemed that Lin Xian was full of confidence. "Brat, stop hiding. Don't pretend to be calm. I know you're scared now, because you're facing no one else but me. I'm the paragon of the archaic royal family. There's no way you can defeat me." The Southern Sea Crocodile god clan's voice was cold and emotionless. "I know that you're Lin Xian, one of the top paragons of the human race. You have the honor of the human race on your shoulders. Therefore you can't run. You have to fight. However, I advise you to obediently admit defeat. You'll lose your honor, and you'll still be able to keep your life. However, if you fight me, you won't even be able to keep your life. What's the use of your honor then? So kneel down and kowtow to me. I'll spare your life. The Southern Sea Crocodile God clan seemed to have turned into a king, controlling the life and death of others. When the archaic creatures heard this, they laughed out loud. Did you hear that? Brat, kneel down and beg for mercy. You're just an ant. How can you be a match for the archaic royal family? Chapter 28:28. A cold voice came from the sky. Lin Xian took a step forward and stood in the sky. Beg you for mercy. You think too much. Today, I'll tell you that the human race cannot be bullied. Tit for tat. Although the two of them didn't roar crazily, the smell of gunpowder was very strong. One of them was a high and mighty royal genius who wanted to trample the human race under his feet and never make a comeback. The other was a human genius who carried the reputation and hope of the human race. The meaning and impact of the battle between the two of them was very far-reaching. Therefore, at this moment, countless pairs of eyes were watching from the sky. Even the sacred leader sect's supreme elders and ancient powerhouses were watching. Although they weren't at the scene personally, they were watching from afar through array formations and various secret techniques. It could be said that the entire world was paying attention to this battle. Reckless guy, I'll let you know the consequences of going against me. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile Clan's genius. He revealed a sinister smile. There was no point in saying anything more. Let's fight. Lin Xian's body also emitted a biting cold light. The nine-yang divine body burned like the sun. Boom, 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 buzz. In the sky, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile Clan finally couldn't help but attack. He stretched out a palm. This palm was too terrifying. It was like the palm of a giant spirit god. It carried a terrifying energy that pierced through heaven and earth and completely enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face was cold as he stood in the sky. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into an eternal being. The sword chi on his body also rushed out quickly. Rays of sword light shot into the sky. Clang, 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 clang. The shockwave alone shattered the clouds in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Countless sword chi were blasted away and scattered in all directions. However, the giant spirit's palm was also blocked in midair and couldn't descend any further. This scene caused everyone to cry out in surprise. They were evenly matched. The human race cultivators heaved a sigh of relief. The ancient creatures' faces were gloomy. Damn it! He can actually fight against a royal genius. How is this possible? Brat, you have some ability. You were actually able to block my palm. However, it's a pity that I didn't use all of my strength in that palm strike. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile sneered. Is that so? No need to laugh. In a moment, you will discover that even if you use all your strength, you still won't be able to shake me in the slightest. Lin Xian's voice was steady, but the sword light on his body had become even more piercingly cold. The ancient dragon abyss sword was also pulled out by him. The terrifying sword chi spread out in all directions, as if a huge dragon had been awakened. You're courting death. The other party's arrogant attitude had truly angered him. The Southern Sea Godly Crocodile roared and struck out with his palm again. This time, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. It was as if a demonic god had gone mad. Heaven and earth shattered, experiencing a great destruction. Fortunately, the surroundings were still enveloped by the formation. Otherwise, such a terrifying attack would have long sunk the mountain range of hundreds of thousands of miles. As for the warriors below, other than those at the very top, the rest would be killed. Kill, Lin Xian roared, and executed the yin-yang 8 steps. Along with the terrifying ancient sword, he charged forward. Sword after sword split the heavens and earth, colliding with the huge palms and exploding with unparalleled power. The two of them exchanged blows quickly, shaking the heavens and the earth. In the sky, the huge body rotated, and every strike could kill an elite. Even the unrivaled kings didn't dare to get close. However, Lin Xian was able to deal with it calmly. His speed was simply too fast, so fast that it was dazzling to the eyes. Very few people were able to capture his movements. The others couldn't see it clearly at all. They could only see huge cracks appearing one after another. The Southern Sea godly crocodile roared crazily. In an instant, thousands of attacks had landed on his body. Every attack landed on his body, causing his blood to churn and his bones to tremble. Damn it! With a roar, the dark clouds in the sky churned. His huge body shrunk rapidly, and finally became a human figure. He had a human crocodile head, and looked extremely ferocious. In his hands, he held two huge axes. As he waved them around, his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. Lin Xian's body swayed, and retreated a few thousand miles away. He sneered. "Aren't you the Southern Sea godly crocodile? Why did you transform into a human? Didn't you look down on us humans? Why? Don't you have confidence in your own body? If that's the case, you can submit to the human race in the future. I can teach you a few skills." Damn it! The Southern Sea godly crocodile was about to go crazy. Smoke was coming out of his head. There was nothing he could do about it. Previously, his body was too big, and his opponent's speed was too fast. Especially those sword chi. They directly broke through his pressure and charged towards him. The blood in his body was churning, and his bones were about to break. That was why he shrunk his body and transformed into a human. That way, no matter how fast his opponent was, he might not be able to hurt him. However, his opponent took advantage of that and mocked him. He couldn't refute that. That was because he was indeed in his human form. Therefore, he could only rush over with bloodshot eyes and two giant axes in his hands. The axes fell, splitting the sky and earth. The sky was filled with axe shadows, making one feel despair. At the same time, his terrifying crocodile head opened from time to time, and spat out balls of energy storms. Lin Xian, on the other hand, swung his long sword to fight back. The axe shadows that filled the sky were all destroyed by the sword light, and the energy storms were blown away by his punch. "Show me your ultimate move. This attack can't threaten me," Lin Xian said coldly as he swung his sword again, and knocked back his opponent's axes. The Southern Sea godly crocodile snorted. His eyes shone with a piercing light. He knew that it was time to use his ultimate move. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do anything to his opponent. Everyone held their breaths. The immemorial creatures were also shocked. In the sky, the prodigies of the Blood Knight clan and the Blue Demon clan also had solemn expressions. To think that this Lin Xian of the human race would be this formidable. However, they didn't care. From the looks of it, the Southern Sea crocodile god hadn't used his full strength yet. When he used his ultimate move, Lin Xian probably wouldn't be able to fight back. Buzz! As the Southern Sea crocodile god's aura exploded, the void behind him cracked open, forming a terrifying crack. It connected the 9 heavens and the earth, as if it was going to tear the sky apart. Whoosh! Endless light spewed out from that crack. Then, a blurry figure walked out of the crack, as if it had traveled through time. It was emitting an aura. The shadow of the crocodile ancestor. It was the shadow of the crocodile ancestor. Many archaic creatures screamed. Even the two prodigies, Blood Moon and Blue Devil, were stunned. Chapter 28-29. It seemed like the Southern Sea divine crocodile was truly enraged. He wanted to kill Lin Fan. Shuiyu sneered. Lan Emo revealed a sinister smile as well. If he dies, his soul will be mine. The two of them sneered because they believed that Lin Xian was no match for the Southern Sea divine crocodile. The people of the human race were astonished. The aura of that figure was simply too terrifying. It was even scarier than the Southern Sea divine crocodile himself. Even the older generation figures felt their scalps go numb. Damn it! The power of the Southern Sea divine crocodile's bloodline was too strong. What he summoned was an ancestral awakening phantom. Lin Xian frowned as well. It wasn't his first time seeing an ancestral awakening phantom. The last time he saw it, it was the War Tribe's prodigy who summoned the War Tribe's old ancestor. But this time, the ancestral awakening phantom summoned by the Southern Sea divine crocodile, was even more terrifying. It seemed like the ancestral awakening phantom had something to do with the power of one's bloodline and one's own strength. His guess was right. The stronger one's bloodline power was, the stronger one's cultivation would be, and the more powerful the atavistic shadow would be. Hee kid, go to hell. After summoning the ancestral awakening phantom, the Southern Sea divine crocodile revealed a sinister smile as he swung his axe down. The ancestral awakening phantom behind him did the same. Boom! With the support of the ancestral awakening phantom, the power of the axe was terrifying. It could split heaven and earth, and its power was much stronger than before. The entire place was shrouded in a layer of terrifying aura, causing everyone to tremble. Even those pillars began to tremble violently. Heavens, what was this thing? How could it be so terrifying? Damn it, this guy was too terrifying. Was this the strength of a royal prodigy? He had hidden so much of his strength before this. Was Lin Xian in danger? When the axe fell, the people below cried out in surprise. They felt that the axe was simply too powerful. Even invincible kings couldn't withstand it, and the older generation figures couldn't take it either. Would Lin Xian be able to withstand it? Even Yi Wudao, the Alcade sage Dustless, and the others had serious expressions. Ancestral awakening phantom? Let's see if your shadow is stronger or my dragon shadow is stronger. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Boom! He directly summoned the great dragon sword soul, and a dragon shadow appeared in front of him, circling the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The terrifying aura caused the entire world to tremble. Even the huge axe in the sky had stopped moving, as if it had entered a quagmire. Its speed was terrifyingly slow. Damn it, what is this thing? As of this moment, the faces of Leaf Daudinier, Sage Sun Alcade, Dustless, the Blood Moon clan, the Blue Devil clan, and the Heavenly Sect all flickered. This was especially true for the ancient creature. It was so terrified that it couldn't help but tremble. Damn it, hold it in. These people roared crazily, but they realized that they couldn't control their bodies. Even their souls were being suppressed. The blood moon in the celestial palace quickly bloomed with light, wanting to crush everything. The prodigy of the Blue Devil clan also had a serious expression on his face. Mysterious runes appeared on his body one after another. They were also resisting this force. Damn it, that's a dragon. Their faces turned ugly. They didn't expect the other party to have such means. On the other side, the Southern Sea crocodile god's expression also changed. He felt a great sense of danger from the dragon shadow, as if it could threaten his life. Damn it, this kid also has bloodline power. And it's related to dragons. How is this possible? He was too shocked. Dragons were the royal family. They were even more terrifying. However, other than the nest of 10,000 dragons, only some dragons were related to dragons. How could this human in front of him be related to dragons? He really couldn't understand. Buzz! Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword shadow and slashed out, causing the entire sky to tremble. The ground was directly pierced through, the mountains trembled, the sun and moon lost their light, and even the arrays dimmed, as if they would shatter at any moment. Damn it, get lost! The Southern Sea crocodile god roared, and the giant axe in his hand fell again, turning into mountains that fell from the sky. Boom! The two's attack was earth-shattering. Even with the protection of the array, many people vomited blood and were sent flying. There was nothing they could do. These two were too terrifying. After the attack, the two of them retreated. However, it was obvious that the Southern Sea crocodile god retreated further. His arm was numb, and the giant axe in his hand almost fell out of his hand. This made it difficult for him to be confident. Could it be that the other party's strength was stronger than his? Damn it, I don't believe it. True Tai water. Go to hell. He roared, and the sky above his head spun rapidly, forming a huge vortex. Then, there was a rumbling sound, and terrifying black seawater fell from the sky, covering the entire sky. It whistled and swept toward Lin Xian. A drop of true Tai water could crush the void. At this moment, the true Tai water had turned into an ocean, and its power was incomparably terrifying. Even the expressions of the older generation changed. Damn it, strengthen the array. They attacked crazily. Fortunately, there were enough human powerhouses this time, and they brought enough treasures. That was why the array could withstand it. Otherwise, if the true Tai water fell, everything within 1,000,000 miles would be reduced to nothingness. Blazing sun. Lin Xian stood in the void, activating the 9-yang divine constitution to the extreme. Balls of 9-yang divine fire danced on his body. At this moment, he was like the sun, emitting a dazzling light. It was so dazzling that those people could not open their eyes. Some people even wanted to force themselves to look, but their eyes bled, and they screamed on the ground. The sun-like divine fire shone in all directions, spreading in all directions. It collided with the true Tai water, and there was an intense sound of fighting. Suddenly, white smoke rose between heaven and earth. The 9-yang divine constitution was the most masculine body. Lin Xian had cultivated it using all kinds of natural treasures and terrifying methods. Although he had only reached the 2nd level, its power was still terrifying. The 9-yang divine fire that he carried was truly terrifying. Even the true Tai water could not break it. Countless large cracks appeared in the sky, and it looked like the end of the world. Outside was endless black seawater that shook heaven and earth. Inside, there was a terrifying divine fire that directly enveloped Lin Xian. It made it impossible for the true Tai water to get close. Those that got close were all evaporated into white vapor, turning into clouds that drifted between heaven and earth. True Tai water? It was only SOSO. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. He used the yin-yang 8 steps and charged forward. His body was covered in the 9-yang divine fire, and he slashed forward. Coupled with the power of the great dragon sword soul, it was truly terrifying to the extreme. Chapter 28:30. Whoosh! In the sky, the true Tai water was mercilessly torn apart and retreated to the sides. Lin Xian had already arrived beside the South Sea divine crocodile. He stretched out his hand like the hand of a god and grabbed forward. His fingers were like a long dragon, carrying terrifying divine fire and sword chi. They directly enveloped the South Sea divine crocodile's head. He wanted to crush the crocodile's head. Seeing this scene, the South Sea divine crocodile was scared out of his wits. He roared angrily and quickly dodged. However, the palm was too cold. He couldn't completely dodge it. Although he avoided the vital part of his head, half of his body was still covered. Pft! One of his arms was grabbed by Lin Xian's hand and immediately torn off. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the sky red. Ah! The South Sea divine crocodile let out a miserable roar. His body swayed and tore apart the starry clouds in the sky. However, he couldn't stop the fact that his arm was torn off. He retreated crazily. His eyes were bloodshot, and he emitted a terrifying murderous aura. Everyone around was stunned when they saw this scene. They couldn't believe it at all. In particular, the archaic creatures were even more stunned. The South Sea divine crocodile was injured. How was that possible? That was an archaic royal. Moreover, he had even summoned an atavism projection. How powerful was that? But now, one of his arms had been torn off. That kid was too terrifying. His attack power was so strong. The prodigies of the Blood Moon clan had ugly expressions. The prodigies of the Blue Demons also had flickering eyes. Yi Wudao, Wuchen, the Yaoguang sage, and the others also had solemn expressions. The stars in their eyes flickered as they deduced Lin Xian's movement technique and the timing of his attack. That's great. Big brother Lin Xian is awesome. On the other side, Shen Jingqiu cheered happily. Morong Qingqing also smiled. She knew that brother Xian wouldn't lose. The others discussed animatedly. Too powerful, as expected of the Central Emperor. That's great. Lin Xian, kill him. That's right. Next time, I'll grab his head and let him be arrogant again. Lin Xian's supporters cheered wildly. Brat, you dare to hurt me? I want you dead. The Southern Sea godly crocodile was so angry that he went crazy. Killing intent surged from his body, piercing through the clouds. Blood gushed out of the severed arm as a new arm grew out. However, even though his body had recovered, the pain in his heart and his overflowing killing intent could not be extinguished. He had to personally tear this despicable brat to shreds. Lin Xian threw away the arm in his hand. Then, the Nine Suns' divine fire pounced on it and burned it completely. He looked ahead and sneered. Was this the strength of a primordial royal genius? That was all there was to it. What right do you have to be so arrogant towards the human race? Like I said, the human race is not a pity. If you don't pay a price today, don't even think about leaving. At the end of his speech, the sword aura on Lin Xian's body suddenly erupted, transforming into an azure dragon that soared into the clouds. This scene was too terrifying. Tens of thousands of sword shadows circled around his body. There was a world-destroying crisis. Tyrant Fist of the Firmament. On the other side, the Southern Sea Crocodile God charged over once again. His eyes were red, and when he blinked, there was a terrifying killing intent. This punch was so powerful that it could swallow mountains and rivers. It was as if a god-fiend had been revived. Not only that, the shadow behind him also threw out a punch. When the two forces merged together, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. It was enough to destroy everything. The entire place was trembling as a terrifying force surged out from it. At this moment, the Southern Sea Crocodile God seemed to have transformed into a god-fiend, looking down on the earth. The crowd trembled once again. Although the Southern Sea Crocodile God was being suppressed, there were no signs of him losing. In the end, it was still not certain who would emerge victorious in this battle. The Tyrant Fist of the Firmament was an extremely domineering fist technique. When the Southern Sea Crocodile God executed it, it was definitely terrifying. I don't believe that the brat can block it. The Blood Knight clan's genius said softly. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. Tyrant Fist of the Firmament? It was indeed a good fist technique. Lin Xian exclaimed. This fist technique was even more domineering than the divine fighting fist that he had obtained. It was even more violent, as expected of the far ancient royal clan. But so what? He had to win this battle. Thinking of this, his eyes shone with a cold light. He quickly formed a seal with his palms. As he waved his hands, endless sword light surrounded him. Then it turned into a shadow and charged forward. The shadow flipped its mouth in the sky along with the palm. Then it appeared in the sky. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Even the far ancient beast's eyelids twitched. They were stunned on the spot. The Southern Sea Crocodile God was so angry that he vomited blood. That damn brat. He had gone too far. He was furious because Lin Xian had used his sword chi to form a crocodile. It was a huge crocodile that was exactly the same as his original body. How dare he use his original body to attack him? The Southern Sea Crocodile God was furious. He swore that he would make Lin Xian suffer a fate worse than death. Kid, do you think that you can defeat me like this? You've underestimated me. The Southern Sea Crocodile God roared. The Tyrant Fist of the Firmament became even more terrifying. He would not be affected by such provocation. However, he was wrong. Lin Xian was not provoking him. Instead, he was using the Great Dragon Sword Soul to simulate all the power to attack. The crocodile's shadow was extremely terrifying. It was like an ancient demon mountain that rampaged in the sky and collided with the Tyrant Fist of the Firmament. The void trembled and distorted. Then it shattered, and the 9 heavens and 10 lands were filled with wind and clouds. The terrifying fist blocked the crocodile's shadow. The Tyrant Fist of the Firmament was broken. Damn it, how can it be so powerful? The Southern Sea Crocodile God kept retreating with an ugly expression. For a moment, he even felt that he was not facing a human, but a prodigy of his own race. Damn it, this is too real. How did he do it? What happened next was even more shocking. In fact, not only the Southern Sea Crocodile God, but the prodigies of the Blood Moon and the Blue Demons were also shocked. Their faces were terrifyingly gloomy. They could not wait to kill that detestable kid in front of them. Lin Xian waved his sword. Countless sword chi intertwined in the air and formed a blood moon. The moon was huge, blood red, and emitted a strange light. It was even brighter than the blood moon formed by the prodigies of the Blood Moon clan. A blood moon? The human prodigies exclaimed in disbelief. The prodigy of the Blood Moon clan was also furious. He was so angry that he vomited blood. Damn it! How dare he use the Blood Moon Clan's superpower? He deserves to die. As Lin Xian swung his long sword, the blood-red moon descended from the sky like a blood-red mountain that came crashing down. It collided with the Southern Sea Crocodile god again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.